Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is story about what if Rias is possessive of Naruto part 1. Before I start, please do support for more amazing content and comments for part 2. Do consider to subscribe my channel and share my video to your friends and check out the description as well. Let's start the video. Quick footsteps ran across a rocky field and were the only sound that could be heard for miles. They carefully and gracefully jumped over large boulders and flew through the air with elegance, not stopping once for a breather. Running across the rocky surface was a woman who looked to be in her teens with black hair that went down past her lower back. She had pale skin and was wearing a dress like a gothic Lolita. It was black in color with frills on each side and a pink bow just below her collarbone, while on her head was a pink frilly headband. Everything about her appearance was normal except that she had pointed ears and her canine teeth were a little longer than they normally were. The woman's name was Ophis, the infinite dragon god who was in a human form. Unlike others of her species and of her kind, she was a humanoid dragon, not the usual giant-scaled beasts with razor-sharp claws, but instead taking the form of a human. Though she was a dragon that had the uncanny ability to change her appearance, her age and even her gender, though she preferred to stay as a woman since it what she felt most comfortable as, and it felt right being a female. It was what also earned her the name the Ouroboros dragon. She was currently making quick haste through the void, a world that was in between the three dimensions Earth, Heaven, and the underworld. The void was an endless space that was shrouded in different colors and looked like a giant endless kaleidoscope. It was the place where Ophis was created, and where she had spent the majority of her life, since Ophis greatly enjoyed the silence, and all things quiet. Though when she left the void for a short while, she returned to find there was a new tenant in her home that made her extremely unhappy. That person was actually who she was rushing to see. Slowly she stopped running and stopped right at the edge of a cliff that overlooked a drop that looked endless and had no bottom to it. If someone fell down this drop, they most likely would never stop falling. Unless they had wings or could fly, then anyone who fell would be falling for the rest of their life. She scanned the area, her eyes flickering all over the area that she could see, but scowled when the person she was looking for was nowhere in sight. Frustrated, she took a deep breath before she shouted as loud as she could, "Great Red Baka Dragon, come here now and stop fooling around like some child." Silence at first was all that was heard through the void for the next few minutes as Ophis waited with bated breath, for once actually hoping that the person she had just shouted for would turn up. After all, he did have a knack for turning up when she did not want him. After another moment, she was not let down when a loud roar suddenly ripped through the air that would have deafened any person within range or with sensitive hearing. But Ophis showed no fear and stood her ground. Instead, she stayed calm and looked towards the area where the roar had come from. When she did, the loud flapping sound of wings was heard, and they sounded like thunderstorms as they beat against the air. It was not long before a massive body descended towards her, and where she stood. The being was a massive dragon easily around 100 meters in length from snout to tail. It had red scales that shined in the light with a whitish-brown underbelly. The dragon's eyes were the golden color with black reptile slits for pupils and had teeth that were pearl white, and were as sharp as teeth could possibly be. The wings on its back were enormous, almost the same size as its body, which only made it look more terrifying. Then on the front of its snout was a giant sharp red horn as well as a small point on its chin. "Hello, Great Red," she said, breathing as she breathed as calmly as she could given the circumstances of her visit. Great Red, the strongest dragon and most powerful creature currently in existence, looked down at the humanoid dragon with curious eyes. Great Red, who was also known as the Apocalypse Dragon, the true Red Dragon Emperor God, True Dragon, and the Dragon of Dragons, wondered what Ophis was up to, since normally she was shouting insults at him to get out of her home and to give her the silence back. "Ophis? You seem a little different than normal. Not got those panties of yours in a wad for once," he said, making her a little red and glare up at him. "Shut up, Baka Dragon," she sniffed as she quickly wiped away a tear from going down her face, now making Great Red even more curious than before. "Then why are you speaking to me so civilly, and why are you tearing up?" he asked, as it was then that his eyes traveled down to her arms and noticed a small bundle that was wrapped in a dark blue blanket. He could just about see a little hand poking out of it that Ophis currently had wrapped in her own and was caressing it gently. "What is that?" he asked, looking toward the bundle, making Ophis show him what she was carrying. What he saw was a newborn child that was currently sleeping with tufts of black hair on its head, just like Ophis currently had. Though he noticed the baby was very pale, far too pale than what a normal child should look like. "This is my son that I gave birth to a few hours ago," she said, surprising Great Red as the giant dragon's brows shot up in surprise. "Your child? What poor schmuck had a kid with you?" he asked, which only further infuriated Ophis. But instead of answering, she let it slide for once, since she had important matters to discuss with the mighty dragon. "He has no father, just me, his mother. I have the ability to reproduce on my own, and I felt that the time was right for me to have a child of my own. Since I can switch between the two genders, it gives me the ability of parthenogenesis. Though dragons are still born to this day, they are just normal dragons, not godlike dragons like you or I, or even the extremely powerful ones like the heavenly dragons and dragon kings. I felt it was time for a new great dragon to rise," she said tenderly as she stroked the baby's cheek. "And so he is like you then? A humanoid dragon that can shape-shift?" "No. He is like me in the sense that he is a humanoid dragon-like, but he will not have the ability to shape-shift, which is a pity. Though when he is older he may be able to turn into a full lizard dragon form, and I have no doubt he will have some form of magic and special powers that will make him very formidable. Great Red listened and nodded to the unusually calm Ophis. Thought something did plague his mind about this visit. So why are you here? You hate my guts and you would not be here without good reason. I do hate your guts and still want you out of my home, but I need your help, she said quietly as she gave him a better look at the small baby. The baby's breathing was very shallow and his skin looked like it was getting paler and paler by the second. He was shaking a little and little wrinkles kept forming on his tiny face as if the baby was in some kind of pain. His body is breaking apart, Ophis said, getting the true dragon's attention again. When he was born he had a massive influx of power. He is much stronger than others his age, and it caught me off guard. His power levels are enormous for a child, especially for a newborn. He makes newborn devils look very insignificant in comparison, but that's the problem. His body cannot handle the massive power that he contains, and it's breaking his body apart. Hero, she said before stopping and trying to block out a choke sob, not wanting to look weak in the eyes of her rival. He is going to die if he does not get help, so why come to me? Great Red asked again, wanting to know where she was going with this. Your flesh, she said, looking him all over. Your flesh has powerful properties to it. It can create new bodies and restore old ones. Therefore I think it can also be used to reinforce current bodies. By absorbing a portion of your flesh into my son, it will help stabilize his body, and his body will begin to quickly adjust to the power influx and continue to adapt as he gets stronger through the years. Since you are both dragons, it should take almost immediately, so let me get this straight. You want me, the dragon you hate the most in the world and have said whose neck you said you will have one day, to give a portion of my flesh to your son because he is dying hours after his birth. Did I get that right? He asked as Ophis looked away while clutching her son close to her chest. Great Red looked her over and the child. The child he knew would most likely not last the end of the day, and if Ophis had any other methods to save him, then she would have taken it. The fact that she was here meant she really was left with no other choice, even if it meant going to the person she hated most in the world. The great dragon sighed and rolled its eyes before sticking out its left leg. Take the necessary amount. Ophis looked up from her son, slightly shocked and surprised. He guessed she had not actually thought that he would help her. Why? The great dragon shrugged. I see no reason why not. Besides, the child has not had a chance at life. It would be unfair for him to be taken away by death only hours after being given life. Plus, with him around, it means you won't be bothering me as much, he said, grinning his sharp teeth, at which made her pout and shake her right fist at the dragon. I knew it. You have some agenda, you baka dragon. I should have known, she declared before she quickly calmed herself. She looked down at her child for a few moments before looking back up at Great Red. I will only take off the necessary amount. After that I will leave, she said calmly and quietly as Great Red nodded. She walked up to the leg that Great Red had outstretched and looked back and forth between the dragon's head and the arm. Everything will be okay in a moment, my sweet, she said to the small child. She extended her right arm and placed her hand on Great Red's skin. She concentrated and gripped it tight before she began to pull. The piece of flesh she had grasped began to glow red and pulsate the more she pulled. Would you hurry it up? It stings, he said, but Ophis just ignored him and focused on the task at hand with concentration and precision. The piece of flesh she was pulling on finally tore off Great Red's body and immediately began to glow red. She quickly wrapped the glowing piece of flesh around her son, almost like she was making a cocoon of sorts around him. The spot where the flesh had ripped from Great Red glowed red, and after a moment it dimmed down, revealing the wound had now healed and looked as if nothing had happened. She pressed her hands against the flesh cocoon child and began muttering incantations under her breath, making the flesh glow brighter before it began to reduce in size and began to get absorbed into the child. The child never once woke up during the ritual, and his skin glowed a little as the flesh began to get absorbed into his little body. When it all went in, a big torrent of power shot around him. Neither Ophis or Great Red was affected by it, but now Great Red understood what Ophis had meant. I see what Ophis meant now. The child is powerful for one only hours old. He could reach mine and Ophis's level if he trains right. He thought as he continued to watch until eventually the glowing flesh had now completely absorbed into the child. Both dragons waited with bated breath as the child glowed a little and noticed his skin color was slowly beginning to get warmer and pinker. He was still slightly pale, but it was now the same tone as Ophis. Slowly the child opened his eyes to show sapphire blue eyes and saw a pair of warm eyes and a giant pair of curious gold eyes looking down at him. Doing the only thing a child his age could do, he shuffled around a little in his blanket and made gurgling noises. Ophis watched as her son wriggled around and smiled the biggest smile Great Red had ever seen her wear. She pulled her child in and hugged him close and placed kisses on his little cheeks and forehead. So it was a success, I take it? He asked as Ophis nodded. He absorbed it perfectly. I can sense his power flow through his body at a much calmer rate now. His body can now adjust to it, and will continue to adjust as he gets older. He will be quite the force to be reckoned with once he is of age. I trust you have ideas on how to train him? I do, but since he absorbed some of your flesh, he will no doubt have a portion of your power in him now, Ophis said as Great Red nodded, since it was highly likely. I may have to alter the training I had in mind for him. I was going to take care of most of it, and have Tannen also help him since he is a powerful ally and friend. Great Red hummed before looking away and readied his wings. I have done what you asked, and now I will get back to my flying, he said. He also stood right up. His name? You never told me his name. I didn't, did I? Ophis quietly said as he looked over her now healthy happy baby. She debated whether to tell him or not, but figured since he did help save her baby, it was the least she could do. Naruto. His name is Naruto. You're calling him fish cake? Poor kid. It's not fish cake Bakared, she said, shouting at him comically, showing him the old Ophis was now back. It means maelstrom. It is a powerful name fitting a powerful future dragon. I guess that name will do. Though most will call him fish cake, he said, making Ophis just glare at him in return. Then Great Red had a thought that made him grin. Does this mean that since he has my DNA in him now that it makes me his dad? I always wanted to be a dad, he said, grinning a toothy smile. All the while Ophis was now turning red and purple with rage and was shaking a little. Little Naruto, who was still awake, was gurgling at how angry his mother looked. He is my son, not yours. Well, that is debatable now. He has my blood in his veins now thanks to him absorbing my flesh. Therefore that kinda make me and the kid related in a way. I wonder what his first words would be. Papa or Mama? He said, laughing before his wings began to flap and lifted him into the air. Ophis looked ready to rip the giant red dragon to pieces and was looking ready to go all crazy bitch on him. Damn you Bakared, she shouted as Great Red flew away, all the while still laughing. When he was gone, Ophis calmed herself down and breathed in and out calmly before she looked down at her now healthy son, who was looking up at her with his big innocent blue eyes. Ophis smiled down at her son. Now that Bakared is gone, it's just me and you, Naruto. You are going to be a great dragon one day. That I know for sure, she said as she nuzzled her nose with his, making him gurgle again as Ophis slowly walked away with her son secured safely in her arms. 5 years later. Mama, where are we going? Little 5-year-old Naruto asked as he held his mother's hand as they walked down an empty path through the underworld. Naruto was the size of an average 5-year-old child, with his black hair being very wild and untamed but kept short. He was wearing a dark blue long-sleeve shirt with black shorts and sneakers. We are going to see an old friend of mine. He is a former Dragon King and he is going to help you learn how to fight and defend yourself as well as help you with your powers, Ophis said as she explained to her son. Ophis was in the same form she was in 5 years ago, and the form had grown on her. She contemplated on keeping her current form as a permanent main form since it was the form her son recognized her as. Oh, okay, Mama, he said happily as Naruto swung his arms, all the while keeping a big happy smile on his face. As they continued down their path, they eventually found themselves being led into a mountainous area. Naruto looked in awe at the big mountains, which made Ophis laugh into her hand at how easily entertained her son was. Now where is he? He should be around here somewhere since this is where he normally goes to train. Plus he was not at his territory, so this is the only other place he would be at. She closed her eyes and scanned the area before quickly smiling as she got a lock on the person she was looking for. Come Naruto-chan, I have found the person we are looking for. Ophis held her son's hand tightly before light engulfed them and teleported them away. They reappeared moments later on a giant cliff edge. When Naruto rubbed his eyes since the teleporting had made his eyes a little itchy, he widened them when he saw they were not alone anymore. On the side of the cliff was a giant purple dragon that was staring out at the surroundings, almost oblivious to the rest of the world. It was nowhere near as big as Great Red but was still very big. The purple dragon was around 50 meters long in length and about 15 meters in height. His wings lay proudly beside him and had a whitish-gray underbelly. His eyes did not have an iris, just a black slit for a pupil. As they got close, Naruto huddled behind his mother since he had never met this dragon before and did not know what it was like. Ophis coughed, which was heard by the purple dragon. When the dragon turned to look where the sound came from, he saw Ophis standing there looking at him, and his eyes went wide in shock and in disbelief. Lady Ophis, he said quickly, standing up and giving a small bow to her. Hello, Tannen. It has been some time, has it not? It has been many centuries. But where have you been? You just up and left, and had many of the dragons looking for where you went. Many believed that you no longer existed. I simply went back to my home in the void. Though I am having a bit of trouble with a tenant that decided to move in, but I will get rid of him eventually. Ophis went on to explain to Tannen where she had been, and what she had been doing as of late, while Tannen did the same. Little Naruto found out that Tannen was a former member of the Dragon Kings and was resurrected as a devil since he apparently had an interest in the dragon apples which certain dragons had to eat in order to survive. Though he had devil blood running through him, he was still mainly a dragon, and his form was still that of a dragon, but now he also had some powers and abilities that of a devil. As they spoke, Tannen noticed Naruto behind Ophis's legs and looked at the child curiously. Lady Ophis, who is this young one behind you? He smells like that of a dragon? He said as he took a quick sniff of Naruto, which made the boy hide himself behind his mother more. Ophis smiled as she patted his head and gently lead him out from behind her, and stood him just in front of her, as she kept her hands on his shoulder. Tannen, I would like you to meet my son Naruto, she said, and caused Tannen to look like he just had a heart attack. Yes, son? You had a child? He said, stuttering, not believing what he just heard. Ophis nodded. Yes, he is a human-shaped dragon like I am, though he has the ability to transform into a full dragon form. He has, or at least will eventually have, all the basic power that all dragons have, such as flight and tough skin. He has also shown having the ability to breathe and control fire similar to you, though I would not be surprised if he develops another element, or elements. Another element? It is very rare for a dragon to have more than one element. But then again, with the dragon god as his mother, it should not be surprising, Tannen said, though inwardly he was still collecting his bearings, since it was unheard of that one of the strongest entities in the universe has a child. Yes, though he will no doubt have more powers develop as he gets older due to having Baka Red's blood in his veins, she said, making Naruto frown up at his mom. Mama, Papa Red is not a Baka. He is really cool and he takes me flying all the time, he said innocently, though Office pouted. Naruto, that stupid red dragon is not your papa. He may have helped save you and you may have some of his blood running through you, but he is not your father. It infuriated her to no end when Naruto began calling her rival Papa. She had asked him not to, but it was already too late. Naruto had taken a liking to Great Red and loved hanging out with the giant red dragon, and it seemed that it was a mutual feeling for Great Red, who had developed a soft spot for Office's son, which was odd given Red's usual bad boy attitude. Plus, Great Red loved to rub it in her face any chance he got. Tannen meanwhile realized who it was they were talking about, and felt as if his blood had just turned as cold as ice. He has a portion of the Great Red's power in him. He thought as he could sense a part of Great Red in the boy. A child of the dragon god who also has the blood of the true dragon running through him. The potential is enormous. Tannen knew now that this little boy in front of him was going to be someone great, someone extremely powerful, and someone that could change the balance in the world. As you have already figured out, the Great Red gave him a portion of his power and flesh due to circumstances that I will explain later. If trained and taught to use his powers and growing strength, he could easily become far more powerful than the archangels, the 4 Maos, the Dragon Kings, and even the 2 heavenly dragons. His power will be more of a match to mine and Great Red's, Office explained as Tannen nodded and this information. What is it you want me to do, Lady Office? He asked. Train him and teach him the ways of the dragon. When he is old enough, I want him to live in the human world and learn about the humans just like I did. Until then, I want you to train and teach him everything he needs to know and how to use his dragon powers so that he can protect himself and those he cares about. You are a former Dragon King as well as a top contender in those devil raiding games, even if you are semi-retired. That makes you as powerful as one of the Satan Lords. You will be a great mentor for my son, better than Baka Red. Tannen looked slightly gobsmacked at the request, but he quickly shook his head. Of course, Lady Office. It would be an honor to train the child of the dragon god. Office smiled at the purple dragon and ushered Naruto forward. Go on, Naruto, say hello. Naruto shifted in his spot a little before his quiet voice spoke up. Hello, Mr. Tannen? I'm Naruto, it's nice to meet you, he said and even gave a little bow. It is an honor to meet you as well, Naruto. There's no need to bow to me. I know, but Mama always said to bow to your elders, he said as both Tannen and Office smiled at the boy's politeness. You have raised a polite young man, Office. That I have. I am a very lucky dragon to have him, she said before she had a very serious look appear on her face. However, Tannen, if you are to train Naruto, I must have your word that you will tell no one else about Naruto's existence. I do not want the devils, fallen angels, or the angels finding out about him yet. If they found out about him, they would try to convert him to their side or have him eliminated. I want him to be able to choose what he will do when he comes of age. If you tell any Nihiro, she said as she raised her power levels to gargantuan proportions that made shivers and sweat run down Tannen's body. You have my word as a dragon and former Dragon King that I will not tell anyone of his existence, he answered quickly, and thankfully Office lowered her power level back to normal and made Tannen breathe easily. Naruto was not affected since Office made sure to not get him caught in her aura or power. Then we have much to discuss, she said as she smiled innocently at the big purple dragon that left Tannen wondering what he had just let himself into, while Naruto just gazed at the two of them innocently before sneezing with bits of soot puffing out of his nose as he did. 13 years later, walking down the busy streets, Naruto Uzumaki walked with his hands in his pockets as he had an easygoing and calm smile on his face as he watched as people all around him rushed to either go to work or to get to school. Naruto had grown into a strong young man as he stood at a respectable 6'3" with a lean yet muscular build meant for both physical strength and for speed. His hair had grown longer and had short bangs framing each side of his face, and his skin color had now darkened from being slightly pale to being lightly tanned. Since he was introduced to the former Dragon King Tannen 13 years ago, much had happened. His training with Tannen had taken up most of his time when he was younger, and he had spent most of his time up until he was 13 with the Purple Dragon. His mother Office had shifted her time between him and a group she had created which she had called the Cows Brigade. Naruto knew the Cows Brigade was set up to help her take down Great Red, but he was surprised when his mother told him it was full of people who were fallen angels, descendants of powerful past figures, stray devils, etc. He had never met any members of the Cows Brigade himself, but he knew eventually he would. Though his mother said she had a few favorites from the Cows Brigade, he had a feeling many of them were not in it to help rid of Great Red but instead to fulfill their own goals. Though his mother was the one that formed the group, He just had an uneasy feeling from them, and that something told him his mother was not seeing or was dismissing. When he was 13, his mother had told him he would be spending his time in the human world so that he could get the human experience that she had when she visited the human world all those centuries ago, and still visited to this day. He had argued with her at first, but eventually he gave in. Since most needed a last name in the human world, he chose Uzumaki. When Office asked why, he just shrugged, saying Maelstrom Spiral sounded pretty cool. Since then he moved permanently to the human world, but since his mother taught him how to teleport, he could visit Tannen but not his mother. She really was too mysterious and odd most times, but Office told him that she would check on him from time to time, but her time was mostly taken with the Cows Brigade, and who knows what else. Though she visits the human world, she vowed not to directly interfere in it. The school he was attending was called Ko Academy. Today was in fact his first day at said school, since he kept feeling himself drawn to it for unknown reasons. So he enlisted a transfer, and Ko became his new school. Ko was formerly an all-girls private school, but recently it had turned co-ed and began allowing boys to be studying there. From what he read up about the place, many of its students did very well and went on to follow great career paths. That he actually liked, since he took its studies quite seriously since he was a smart person. He loved to read and to write, something he enjoyed since he was at a young age. He was even working on a story in his spare time, since writing a book was something he had always wanted to do. His school uniform now consisted of a black blazer with white accents, a white, long-sleeved dress shirt with a black ribbon on the collar, matching black pants, and brown dress shoes. This uniform is kind of uncomfortable. He thought as he pulled on the collar of his shirt. Though he was fine with dressing smartly when the occasion came, he preferred simple clothes, which to him were simple shirts, jeans, and boots. As he walked down the streets, he noticed a few of the women that passed him by give him quite lustful looks, and many were ogling his form. It was not long before he eventually found himself outside the gate of Ko Academy. The academy was very nice and had an illustrious feel and look to it. It had cobbled paths and even had a water fountain in the center of the courtyard in the front of the school. There was a main building in the center of the campus, which was the main faculty building, with various smaller buildings around it provided for the large number of students it had. Pretty nice. Humans do make some nice stuff when they put their mind to it, he said before he walked in. As soon as he did, it went mostly quiet as the other students noticed him walk in and wondered who he was. The boys were all thinking who the new pretty boy was and whether they should rough him up since he was the newbie at school. The girls, however, were the complete opposite, and were happily voicing his opinion. Oh my god, who is that? He is such a hunk. Look at that body. Look at those arms. Do you think he had noticed me? Naruto played it cool and simply ignored them, though inside it made him feel a little nervous. He had not had much experience with girls other than his mother. At his other school he mostly kept to himself, never really making friends. He guessed his mother's trait of enjoying the quiet and being alone passed on to him in a way. When he went inside the main building to pick up his timetable, many of the girls had rushed to follow him since they wanted to find out who he was, what class he was in, and most important, whether they had a chance with him. He picked it up from the woman at the school office and was annoyed that even she was blushing and giving him a predator-like look. 3A, where is 3A? He muttered as he walked down the corridors as many other students began piling into their classroom. After another minute he found his room and walked in. The classroom was completely full with only one spare desk, which no doubt was for him. Mr. Uzumaki, I presume? A man in his 30s said as he shook Naruto's hand. That's me. Sorry if I'm a bit late. Trying to find my way around here. The teacher, Mr. Asama, spoke to the class briefly. Everyone, I would like you to welcome Mr. Uzumaki, who has joined Ko Academy today and will be with us for the rest of the year. It's nice to meet you all. I hope we get along, Naruto said, giving them all a small bow. Mr. Uzumaki, why don't you take your desk? It is just beside Miss Himejima, he said as Naruto nodded and walked towards his seat. When he sat down, he looked to the girl whose name the teacher spoke and unknowingly blushed when he saw her. She was incredibly beautiful, easily one of the most beautiful girls he had ever seen. She was a buxom young woman with long black hair and violet eyes and creamy-colored skin. Her hair was being tied in a long ponytail, reaching all the way down to her legs, with two antennae sticking out from the top and sloping backwards, with an orange ribbon keeping it in place. He then blushed a little more when she turned to look at him. Seeing his red face, she laughed a little into her hand before extending to him. Hello, my name is Akino Himejima. Welcome to Ko Academy, she said politely. Getting over his redness, he smiled at her in return and shook her hand, which was very smooth. I'm Naruto Uzumaki. It's nice to meet you, Akino-san. As they shook hands, Naruto suddenly felt her energy and recognized that it was not one of a normal human. Though he had never met a devil before, that was the feeling he got from her when he shook her hand. She even felt a little like a fallen angel, which he also had never met before. A devil going to this school, huh? Guess I cannot complain. This could be rather interesting. He thought before he grinned a little and focused on the teacher at the front of the class. Later on, Naruto sat quietly underneath one of the trees in the school courtyard as he ate his packed lunch he made himself earlier that morning. Since he lived on his own, cooking was one thing he quickly took upon himself to learn and found he was actually pretty good at it. When his mother visited him, she complimented his cooking, and even Tannen, on the rare occasion that the dragon visits him in his miniature form, said his cooking skills were very good. He was sitting on his own since one, he was the new and had no friends at the time being, and second was to get away from the crazy horde of girls that kept following him round the school. The school seems pretty nice so far, though the girls here are fucking insane. I have only been here a day and they are already throwing themselves at me. I'm not sure whether I should feel blessed or slightly worried for my safety. As he sat eating his lunch, he heard the sounds of giggling coming from behind one of the bushes outside the building that held the kendo club. Getting up, he went to investigate and found 3 boys peeking through the window, each giggling rather perversely, and were wiping away small trails of blood from their noses. When he went to see what they were looking at, he saw that through the window were the girls of the kendo club, all getting changed, half of which were now only in their bras and panties. His eyes narrowed towards the boys. If there was one thing he hated, it was perverts. A growl ripped from his throat, causing the 3 boys to freeze in their spots. When the trio turned around, they suddenly felt their collars being grabbed and found them being lifted off the ground and being pinned against the wall. The girls formed the kendo club heard the slam and went to investigate. They found Naruto pinning the 3 boys against the wall, all 3 with a scared look on their faces. So you 3 thought it would be okay to watch the lovely girls of the kendo club get changed, did you? Do the 3 of you have an ounce of respect for women, since clearly your lust seems to be your main way of thinking? He growled out. As he said that, the kendo girls got angry looks on their faces and went inside to grab their kendo sticks. Naruto demanded the trio to tell him their names, which they quickly complied to. The trio were Issei Hayadu, Matasuda, and Motohama. So you 3 are the perverted trio of Go. Believe it or not, I heard about you 3 from my old school and how many girls there wanted to beat you into the ground. Therefore I will warn you 3 right now, he said as his pupils narrowed to match reptile-like slits. It freaked all 3 of them out and made them shake in fear. If I find you peeping again, I will end you. I will beat the 3 of you so bad no one will ever be able to recognize you. Understand? He said as the 3 quickly nodded their heads furiously. Good, he said as he dropped them to the ground but kept a hold of them. Now, though I would love to be the one to give you punishment, I feel it would best for the girls to be the one to give you your just deserts, he said as the girls all came out with their kendo sticks and glared towards the perverted trio. Ladies, he said as he gave them a smile which made them all blush. They are all your to do with. Thank you, Naruto-kun. They all chorused out before they got an evil glint in their eyes as Naruto pushed the 3 boys towards them as the yelps of pain began to echo through the school. Though no one had any sympathy for the 3 boys since they were getting what they deserved. Troublesome, Naruto said as he took his spot back under the tree and continued with his lunch. As he ate his lunch, 2 set-off eyes stared down at him from one of the roofs of the buildings. One was the gaze of Akino Himejima, which had a curious look with even a bit of lust in them. Watching Naruto threaten the 3 boys had actually made her heart flutter. The other pair of eyes belonged to her best friend Rias. Like Akino, she was a buxom young woman with a light skin tone and blue-green eyes. Her most distinctive feature is her long, crimson-red hair that reaches down to her thighs, with a single hair sticking out from the top. Her hair also has loose bangs covering her forehead and side bangs framing her face. She currently had her head leaning gently on her palm as she watched Naruto put the perverted trio in their place. Fumai, he was certainly vicious to the 3 perverts, Akino said as she laughed in her hand. Which was quite humorous to watch, though he was very physically strong as well. He was holding 3 teenage boys by their collar and had them lifted off the ground with very little effort. He even cracked the wall a little. You think Naruto-kun is not human then? That he is some kind of supernatural creature? I think so, since his physical strength is much greater than a normal boy his age, even with Hiseiuro. Physical structure, she said, blushing a tad red as Akino laughed at her blush. Plus he does not feel human when I got a read on him. Does someone have a crush on Naruto-kun? If you do, then get in line because I saw him first, Akino said as she smiled innocently at Rias. Rias smirked at her friend but went back to looking at Naruto. Perhaps I can add him to my plans, she said haughtily as she continued to watch him for the rest of lunch while Akino ogled him. Later that day, Naruto casually made his way home with his bag slung over his right shoulder while he read The Hobbit. With his love for books, adventure stories were always his favorites since they played with one's imagination the most and it brought out his inner child. Since he was writing a book of his own about a ninja who goes on adventures and tries to prove himself to the world, other adventure stories were big influences on him and helped him mold the story. It was late afternoon and most were returning to their homes by now, with parents welcoming their children home from school or wives welcoming their husbands from long days at work. As he continued to walk, the streets began to empty. Though there was no one around that he could see, he could sense 2 people following after him. They were following him by the rooftops and had been for the last half an hour. It was also the same 2 energy signatures that he felt watching him back during lunch at school. Seeing that no one from any direction was around, he stopped and put his book away into his pocket. You can come out now. I know you have been following me since we left school. There is no point hiding. It did not happen immediately, but he stood there patiently looking in front of him. Then from the side and out of the shadows, His eyebrows rose up in surprise when he saw Akino and another girl from his class who he knew was called Rias stepped out. You knew we were following you? She asked. I did, though I did not know who other than Akino-chan here since I recognized her as a devil when we shook hands this morning. Am I right in thinking you are also a devil, Rias-san? She nodded. I am Rias Gremory, heiress to the Gremory family. Naruto whistled in amazement. Wow, I have never met such a high-class devil before. I have read about the Gremory family, and that your family is a very noble devil family. You know, I think today is actually the first time I have ever met a devil, he said, surprising the two of them. In fact, I have never met an angel or a fallen angel either. So he is not of the three main factions then. Rias and Akino thought. You have never met a devil before? Rias asked, genuinely surprised. Well, not a full devil like yourself. The only other devil I have met is the dragon/devil hybrid Tannen the meteor dragon. Saying Tannen's name, both Rias and Akino's eyes widened to great proportions when they heard the dragon's name. Heck, anyone in the underworld knew that name, and many younger devils looked up to it since Tannen was a greatly respected member of the underworld as well as extremely powerful. You know Tannen? Rias asked. How? Of course, he is my teacher and the one who taught me how to fight, he said, and once again Rias and Akino were thrown back. Trained by a warrior such as Tannen is such an honor. Who is he? If he is trained by Tannen, then he must be powerful. And why is he here in the human world? Rias thought with hundreds of questions swarming around in her head. What are you? Akino asked in wonder, now more curious than ever before. Rias was no better. I can tell you, but not here out in the open. If you want to know more about me, then you can come home with me if you like. It's only another 10 minutes from here. If not, then you will have to wait another time, he said as he turned around and began walking away. Butcher, what do we do? Rias had a contemplative look on her face as she watched Naruto walk away from them. He didn't sound like he would harm them, and he did not come off as evil or want to hurt them in any way. He sounded more like he would tell them in the open if he could, but was just unable to. Biting her lip and making her decision, she ran after Naruto, to which Akino also quickly followed and joined him by walking at his side. Rias on his right and Akino on his left. Like Naruto had said, it only took 10 minutes to get to his home, and they found themselves looking at a 7-bedroom manor house with steps that led up towards it. It had roses going up the sides of the building that only added to its beauty. It has a deck on the front of the house from both the first, second, and third floor. The windows showed edges of curtains, though they could not feel anyone else living there. He led the two girls in as he put his backpack down to the side where his shoes were currently resting. The girls did the same as Naruto showed them into a large, spacious, and comfortable family room with dark brown wooden floors and white walls with wooded panels going across them at the bottom half of the walls. Along the top were wooden beams, and at the bottom of the center wall was a fireplace with a large 40-inch plasma television. Your home is very beautiful, Rias commented as she marveled at his home. It was very warm and inviting. Is it just you here? Yes, my mother is not home much, so it's mostly just me here. Can I get you anything to drink? He asked, but they both shook their heads. No, thank you. We would like to get answers from you if that is okay with you, Rias said as she and Akino took their seats on the black couch. Naruto nodded and took the seat on the couch on the other side of the coffee table. If I tell you what I am and who I am, will you keep this to yourself? My existence has been kept secret since I was born, and only 3 people know that I even exist. Rias and Akino looked at one another, quickly agreed to it. We promise what you say will stay between us as long as it is not harmful or a threat to anyone. Naruto nodded. Well, as you have first guessed, I am not a devil, an angel, or a fallen angel. But I am not human either. I am something different altogether, he said as he closed his eyes and focused on his back. When he did, both Akino and Rias looked in wonder as 2 black wings came out of his back with blue marking over them. Only they were not wings belonging to a devil or an angel, but instead were shaped and designed like dragon wings. He then opened his eyes to show his pupils were now reptile-like slits. I, Miss Gremory and Miss Himejima, am a dragon, he said as silence was rained out through the manor house. Both Rias and Akino looked at Naruto not in fear or in anger, but instead in sheer amazement and wonder. Dragons were always known to be giant lizards like the stories and the files had depicted them as, yet here was a dragon that was in the form of a dragon. And they could tell by the tone in his voice that he was being truthful. They both knew that dragons were the most powerful creatures in existence, and even the weakest dragon's powers could match a high-class devil. Heck, the strongest dragons in existence made the Satans and God look like ants in comparison. It was unfortunately why a lot of the higher-class devils in the underworld did not like dragons. They feared their power. But you are so human-looking, Akino said as she got up and touched Naruto's wings, which were surprisingly smoother than what she thought they would be like. Rias did the same with the wing on the other side. That would be because of my mother. She is the only human-looking dragon in existence, and therefore when I was born a human-shaped dragon as well. Though I can turn into my full dragon form if I want, though I rarely do so. What is your mother name? I have heard of a human-shaped dragon in the past and from books, but I forgot the name. Well, she has a few titles that you might find more familiar. The Infinite Dragon God is one and the Ouroboros dragon is the other. Though her name simply is Ophis. he said as Rias and Akino's jaws just dropped and stared at Naruto in sheer amazement again. I It's not possible. The infinite dragon god has a child? A child my age and at my school? This can't be a coincidence. Such a powerful entity would have been picked up, but Ophis has been known to be able to just disappear, so no doubt she can get her own child in the shadows and undetected. Even my brother fears the name, since even in his true form he would not be able to match her. It is just one surprise after another. Akino thought, trying to get her thoughts together, while Rias went from looking amazed to a look that made her look like she had won the lottery. I cannot let an opportunity pass up like this. The chance at such a powerful ally can't be ignored. I have to get him on my side before someone else like Sona gets to him. She quickly went in front of Naruto and grabbed his hands together into hers and pulled him down back onto the couch as she sat on the coffee table, staring intently into his eyes with hopes in her eyes. Naruto-kun, tell me, do you know what a peerage is and what the evil pieces system is? She asked immediately as Akino's eyes widened. She wants him to join? Naruto eyebrows lifted in surprise, but then again he should not have been that surprised at the request, since Tannen did tell him that if a high-class devil who could create a peerage found him, they would try and get him on their side. Well, if I understand it right, the evil peace system was a system that was created to repopulate the devil's numbers since it lost many of its own in the Great War. They are a set of 15 chess pieces given to top-class devils to increase their ranks by reincarnating other beings into devils. The most popular people to use it are heirs and members of the noble families of the underworld, right? Rias nodded enthusiastically. That's right, I myself have my own peerage, Naruto, though I currently only have 3 members of it so far. Akino here is a member of my peerage and is my queen. I have another who is a knight, and the final person is a rook. And you are not just telling me this just for the fun of it, are you? He said as she shook her head. No, Naruto, I am telling you this because I want you to join my peerage. I think you would be a great ally to have on my side and also a great friend. A dragon would be a great booster for my peerage, and it would make me feel a lot safer with you around. Dragons are the most powerful creatures in existence for a reason, and yet here you are, the son of the infinite dragon god. I don't normally believe in fate, but I feel I was fated to find you. I don't know about this, Naruto said aloud as he had a thinking look on his face. I mean, it's a nice offer, but I never really expected myself to join a peerage ever. The only person with a peerage that I have met is Uncle Tannen, though from what I have seen they seem happy with him. Then you should also know that the Gremry family is known through the underworld for being caring and looking after their peerage. Our peerage becomes part of our family, and we never turn our back on our family. Please, Naruto, Rias asked, gripping his hand tightly in hers. Join our family and I promise you will not ever regret it. A family, huh? Naruto said, looking down with a soft smile on his face. My family has only ever consisted of my mom, my dad, and my Uncle Tannen. Though I love them greatly, there is no one my age I can talk to, and sometimes that makes things a little difficult. I have never been great at making friends, so I have difficulty making friends. Akino's hand rested on Rias' hands, which were still locked onto his. She was giving him a big smile as his wings finally retracted away. Please join our family, Naruto-kun. I think you will make life more interesting with you around, and if the need should ever arise, then we will protect you should anyone ever harm you. That does sound nice. Naruto thought as he thought it over in his head. There is no downside really, other than eventually I will be found out, but that was bound to happen eventually anyway. Why not, since when everyone finds out I could have friends stand by me. Then again, no one would try and kill me due to mom. And if they ever found about Papa Rita Euro. He chuckled at the thought, which gained a confused look from Rias and Akino, but Naruto waved it off before looking Rias in the eyes. So join your peerage? What piece did you have in mind? He asked, smiling at Rias and Akino as Rias grew the biggest and brightest smile he had ever seen a person wear. Well, she said excitedly as she waved her hand and red glowing chess pieces formed in front of him. Well, maybe you should pick, since I have no idea where to put a dragon. Just remember the queen is already taken, she said. Akino waved cutely at him. Naruto hummed as he looked the pieces over. He thought it over and weighed the pros and cons for each of the evil pieces. Ria already had a knight, a rook, and a queen. The queen was recognized as the most powerful underneath the king, and would be the last to fight. The pawn is usually seen as the weakest, and yet in fact it really holds great value. Plus, if someone powerful becomes a pawn, it would give the deception that the others in the peerage are just as powerful. Plus, a pawn would be the first line of defense, and if they are serious about me becoming their friend and want me to become part of their family, then I will do all I can to protect them. Making his mind up, he picked up one of the pawn, much to the surprise of Rias and Akino. Are you positive about this pick, Naruto? Rias asked as Naruto nodded and explained his reasons. Thinking it over, Rias and Akino could see where he was coming from and would be a great advantage to them overall. Very well, Naruto-kun. We will begin the process. Since you are not dead, you won't be reincarnated per se, but the process will put devil's blood in you, she said as Naruto nodded. Rias channeled her energy through her body and began to say, Speak. I command thee, Naruto Uzumaki, on my name Rias Gremry, become my servant, and lead a new life as my pawn. There was a bright flash of light as the Gremari's hand briefly appeared on Naruto's chest before disappearing. A small pawn appeared in front of Naruto, glowing bright. However, just before it could be absorbed into Naruto, it suddenly dimmed in color and fell aimlessly to the ground. The light around them suddenly dimmed and everything suddenly returned to normal. Rias and Akino looked down at the pawn on the ground in surprise as Rias picked it up. I do not understand. I did everything normally like I usually did, she said, but heard a sigh come from Naruto. I guess that would be because of me, he said, getting out looks from Rias and Akino. Remember, my mother is the dragon god. Because of that, it stands to reason that I too am a dragon god since I have her blood running through me. Though I may not be anywhere near her strength, one day I might, and I guess it's because of that I cannot become a devil. During his explanation, Rias and Akino had a downcast look on their face. Here I was so close to getting such a great ally to become a member of my peerage, she said, but Naruto grabbed her hand like she had done earlier. I may not be able to be a part of your peerage, but I would still like to be your friend. Though I can't be a loyal servant, I can be your ally. I may not be able to join your peerage, Rias-chan. I swear to you now that because of your kind offer I will swear my utmost loyalty to you. When you face dangers I will stand by your side, and when people attempt to harm you I will protect you from it. That is a promise of a lifetime. So will you take this young dragon to be your friend and ally? He asked, hoping they would still offer their friendship. Rias and Akino had surprised looks on their faces, but both girls quickly smiled and nodded. I think I would like that, Rias said as Akino and Naruto all smiled, a great friendship and more having been born that moment. Occult research. Light shined through the open curtains at the window as the light hit Naruto's face, causing him to scrunch his eyes up from the sudden intrusion. His eyes flickered a little before slowly they opened up to find him staring up at his bedroom ceiling. His bedroom was pretty big, with a giant queen-sized bed against the left side wall with black drawers and cupboards on the other side storing his clothes. He has a desk as well, though he rarely used it since he preferred to use the office just down the hall. He blinked rapidly before he rubbed his eyes with his right hand, trying to get the sleepers out of his eyes. His mind raced back to the day before and thought about the events that had taken place and what almost came to be. That actually happened. He thought as he then tried to sit up but found his right arm being squeezed by something soft and warm. He then felt a warm breath hit his neck and small humming. Turning his head to his side, his cheeks went red and eyes went wide when he saw Rias Gremari, his new friend and ally, sleeping beside him, hugging his arm closely into her chest. Though what made him blush was the fact that she was not wearing any clothes. She was very. Oh, what do I do? He mumbled to himself, wondering how he was going to get himself out of this one, but quickly noticed the edges of Rias' mouth quirk upward in a small devious smile. She's awake, which means she planned this. Oh, how sneaky Rias-chan. Well, two can play at that game. He thought before he smirked. Man, what to do? It's not really fair that Rias-chan is completed and I don't want her to get singled out or anything. I guess I'm just going to have to get as well and have our hot bodies pressed against one another, he said aloud as his hand went towards his pajama bottoms. When they did, he saw Rias' cheeks had now gone red and that her eyes were flicking wildly from underneath her eyelids. There was even steam coming out of her ears, which made him laugh inwardly. Just as his arms were about to move, she shot open in a panic and darted towards his bottoms. However, instead she saw him pulling on the bed sheet, only pretending to pull his bottoms down. He laughed at her disappointed face. Better luck next time, Rias-chan, he said. Rias pouted at him. That was a mean trick, Naruto-kun, says the girl who was sleeping next to me completely. I don't sleep with any clothes on. It's get too stuffy during the night, and sleeping is just more comfortable. Either way, could you please cover up? Not that I don't think you don't have an amazing body and all, but seeing as we only met yesterday, I don't think it's very appropriate for me to see you so indecent, he said as Rias sighed and nodded. Fine, let me just find my clothes, she said as she looked around the room and found her clothes in a neat pile beside the bed that she had made the night before. Why were you in my bed anyway, Rias-san? Not that I'm complaining, but I'm pretty sure I gave you one of the other bedrooms for you to stay in. After he had almost become Rias' pawn and became hers and Akino's new friend, he had offered Rias and Akino to stay for dinner since he wanted to get to know them both better. Rias and Akino quickly accepted since they wanted to know all about him and what his life was like with his mother Opus, as well as his training with Tannen. Though when it came to his training, he tapped his nose and told them they had to wait and see, which only led to him getting adorable pouts from the two girls, but they accepted it for the time being. After dinner, he had offered both them to stay the night since he had 7 bedrooms for them to use. Only Rias had accepted the offer since, while Akino had declined, though the raven-haired girl did say she would accept the offer sooner or later. I did, but it got a little cold during the night, so I came in here. And you were just so nice and warm and so cuddly to cuddle next to. Since you're a dragon, you were like a portable heat source, she said as she slipped her underwear on. Could you strap me in? She said as she put her bra on. Naruto reddened a little but nodded. He sat up on his knees and clipped her bra on for her, getting a small thank you from the red-haired girl. No problem, he responded as he got out of bed, allowing Rias to get a good look at Naruto's chest, which caused her to drool a little at the sight of his muscles, arms, chest and abs. Look at those abs. It's like they're chiseled from stone. He might not be part of my peerage, but at least no one else like Sona can have him either. Plus he was my friend first. She thought evilly and cackled a little, which made Naruto look at her oddly. After Naruto quickly showered, he used a spell his mother had taught him when he was younger, which made clothes form on his body. After a few seconds, his toweled form was now covered and was now in his school uniform. He did offer Rias to shower, but she said she would do so when they got to school, saying she could get washed and cleaned up at the occult research building that she had explained to him about the night before. After both were changed, Naruto happily made his guest and new friend pancakes for breakfast, which Rias eagerly ate. Her eyes shined like stars as she ate them, quickly recognizing him as a great cook as Naruto thanked her for the praise. She even said now that she knew he was a great cook she would be eating round his almost every day. She thought he would get nervous and say no, but instead he smiled happily at her, told her she was welcome over whenever she liked and that it was nice to have company over. Once they finished breakfast, they left Naruto's home and made their way to school together. As they walked together halfway through the trip, Rias slipped her left arm through Naruto's right arm and linked them together. Naruto raised his eyebrow at that, but he did not comment on it. Rias wondered in her head why she did that, but she thought nothing else on it. As they walked, many adults noticed the handsome boy and beautiful girl walking together, and all smiled at the two, thinking they made such a wonderful couple. Naruto's cheeks reddened a little at all the attention and staring, and knew it would probably be no better if not worse once they got to the school, but Rias just ignored it and smiled as she listened to the whispered and mutterings of the adults. They walking in a comfortable silence as Rias continued to keep her arm linked with his, and before they knew it, they found themselves at Ko Academy. Just like when Naruto thought the moment the school saw him linked arms with Rias, who he learned they had called one of their great ladies, the other being Akino, whispered, muttering and outbursts what all he heard. No, Rias-san already got him. Damn, Uzumaki works fast. How did he do it? I have been trying to get Rias for months. No, my Naruto-kun has been taken from me. Ah geez. Naruto muttered as he palmed his face as Rias laughed at his expression. Don't worry, Naruto-kun, you will get used to it. Now that you're my friend, you will be spending a lot of time with me, so you kind of have to get used to it, or they will eat you alive. She said, though the expression shown on his face showed he was not exactly happy about all the added attention, but he would bear with it. From one of the class windows on the third floor, a pair of violet eyes looked down at them. She was a young woman around the same age as Rias, with black hair styled in a short bob cut, and violet eyes which had a pair of glasses in front of them. She looked at Naruto and Rias and sighed in disappointment. Darn, Rias-san got to him first. Rias always get the good ones, she said before disappearing from the window. Back with Naruto and Rias, the two entered their classroom and took their normal seats. Akino had waved hello to them both and quickly struck up a conversation with Rias as the two girls whispered to each other quietly. No doubt she wanted to find out if anything happened when she left. So Ayuro, Akino whispered to Rias. Did you sleep next to him? She asked as Rias gave her a coy smile, giving Akino her answer. And did anything happen? Nothing happened, though I can tell you one thing. That uniform does not do that body of his justice, she said to her best friend, and laughed as the ogled and dreamy expression Akino was now wearing on her face as she looked over towards the raven-haired boy. Naruto looked over only to see Rias and Akino laugh into their hands when they saw him staring. He just shook his head. Uncle Tannen was right. Girls are so weird. Later on. So we are now headed to the base of the Occult Research Club? Naruto asked as Akino led the way a little in front of him. She nodded her head at his question. Yes, like Bucho said, the club is just a front so that she can research and gather intel on the creatures and other factions of the area so that she can report it back to the underworld. Though you might not be a member of Rias peerage, you can still join since you are supernatural and not human. So this town is essentially her territory in a way then? That's right, though she shares the territory with another high-class devil from a noble family here who is in our year, she said, surprising Naruto. There is another high-class devil here? Who are they? Ah, don't worry. I'm sure Bucho will introduce you to her eventually. Though they are friends, they are also rivals in a way, so things tend to get a little competitive when they are around one another. That may have been another reason Bucho desperately wanted you in her peerage. So the other devil here did not get you first. Guess that makes sense in a way, he said, though it did sound like Rias only wanted him so this other devil couldn't. Though just a shame she won't be able to have me either. Plus I have already sworn my loyalty to Rias-chan. Very true. Though Bucho was a little disappointed that you could not join her peerage, I know she is happy to have someone like you on her side, she said, making him feel a little better. Ah, here we are, she said as she and Naruto stopped at an old building with a clock at the top of it. It looked in pretty good condition, but could tell by the way it was slightly worn down on some of the wooden panels that it was older than the other buildings at Ko Academy. It also had vines and other shrubbery growing on some of its sides and had a few of its windows blackened out. Come, it's time for you to meet the rest of the gang, Akino said as she opened the door and led him inside. Bucho should already be here, so you will see her shortly. She led him through a hallway that was very different from the outside. It was very fancy and elegant looking, with tablecloths covering the stands and had old candles on top that were currently lit. The smell from the candles made him wrinkle his nose. Here we are. Welcome to the Occult Research Club, Naruto-kun, Akino said as she used both arms to open the double doors and motioned for him to walk inside. Wow. was the first thing that came out of his mouth when he saw the room. Like the hallway, it was very elegant looking with hardwood dark brown floor with dark cream-colored walls on all 4 sides. There were paintings hanging on each wall and had glass cabinets and wooden stands that held more candles on them. In the center of the room was a large mat that had a coffee table in the center of it with 2 Victorian-styled couches on either side. On the far side of the wall there was an opening in the wall but was covered by cream-colored curtains. The room was lit up only by all the candles, giving it a very dark appearance but felt warm, cozy and inviting. Looking across the room, he saw 2 other people already waiting for them. The first was a boy who was leaning against one of the walls, and Naruto recognized that he was in the year below him. That and because the girls in the school had fawned over him greatly. He was a handsome young man with short blonde hair and gray eyes and had a very princely look about him. He then looked to the other person who was sitting down on the couch and was drinking a small cup of tea. She was a petite girl around 15 years of age with white hair and hazel eyes. At the front, her hair has 2 long bangs going past her shoulders and several loose bangs hanging over her forehead, while the back has a short bob cut. She also wore a black cat-shaped hair clip on both sides of her hair. Naruto-kun, I would like to introduce you to Kiba Yudo and Kaneko Tuju. Kaneko-chan, Kiba-kun, this is Naruto Uzumaki, our newest member of the Occult Research Club, Akino said as she introduced him. The first to welcome him was Kiba. It's nice to meet you, Naruto-san. Welcome to Rias Peerage. I hope we can be good friends, Kiba said as he shook Naruto's hand, all the while having a happy but charming smile on his face. Thank you, Naruto said. This guy seems pretty cool. Welcome, Naruto-san, Kaneko said quietly and a little coldly before going back to her tea. Naruto looked toward Kiba, who just laughed a little. Don't worry, Kaneko-san is usually like that. She will warm up to you eventually. Oh, okay. Well, it's an honor to meet you both. I hope we can be good friends, Naruto said, bowing to the duo. Though you should know that I am not actually part of Rias Peerage. The sentence caught them a little off guard. No doubt they did not expect to hear that. Oh, but you are supernatural though? Kiba asked as Naruto nodded. I am, and I'm sure Rias will explain the circumstances why I am not part of her peerage. However, I can still join the occult club though, he said as Kiba and Kaneko nodded their heads accepting the answer. Making good impressions already, Naruto-kun? Rias called out as she walked out from the other room and through the curtain. She walked through the room and sat down at one of the couches and crossed her legs while crossing her arms as well. Akino moved as well and stood just behind the couch and beside Rias. Since we are all here, I can formally welcome Naruto to the Occult Research Club. Welcome, Naruto. I am sure you will be a great member to the club, she said as the other members politely clapped. Now you already know the history behind the 3 factions, right? She asked as Naruto nodded his head as Kaneko and Kiba looked at him in slight surprise, probably thinking he was a human before being a member of the peerage. Good, then I won't need to go over the basics or the history then, since you already know it. In that case, I can move on to the next part of the induction. Since you are a new member, you should know devils need humans to sign contracts with them, which increases their power and standing in the underworld. However, in order to get the human to sign the contract, the devil must first fulfill their end of the bargain. These tasks can border on the form simple things such as washing clothes and playing video games with them to the complete insane and weird to having to cosplay for someone, or even cross-dressing. Though you won't need to worry about that, of course. Wow, that's a little weird, he said as Kaneko and Kiba nodded in agreement. Yes, but it has to be done, otherwise it would be bad business if we turn down and refuse a request, which could lead to us losing more contractor due to word of mouth. However, since you unfortunately are not part of my peerage, you won't be able to fulfill any contracts. But the Occult Research Club is set up to help monitor the activities in the area. I would greatly appreciate it if you could keep me informed of any movements of fallen angels or other devils. Also, while my peerage and I complete contracts, would you allow me to mark the Gremory family symbol on your wrist so that my family's allies will recognize you as an ally and friend? She asked as Naruto nodded. Rias stood up and placed her hand on Naruto's wrists and muttered a few words. Then she took her hand off, and on his skin was now the symbol of the Gremory family in red. You know, if that is the case, may I do something similar with you? He asked, getting a raised eyebrow from Rias. It is just in case my mother or any of my previous acquaintances meets you and think you are an unfriendly. Plus, if you channel your Yuki into it, it will alert me and let me know you need help, he said. Rias thought it over for a few seconds before she nodded. That would be acceptable. Thank you, she said, smiling and pulling up her sleeve. Naruto then placed his hand on her wrist and did the same thing. After a few seconds, he took his hand off, and a small tattoo of a dragon with its tail in a spiral form lay on her wrist. Rias looked it over before smiling happily at it. Cool, Naruto said, looking over her wrist before he felt a tingle in his nose that signaled he was about to sneeze. Oh, they all looked at him. Oh? Is something wrong, Naruto-kun? Akino asked as she watched as his eyes were scanning all around them. Where's the window? He asked in a panic and saw Kaneko point to a window behind some curtains. He quickly threw the curtains over and opened the window. When he did, his eyes closed and he sneezed. Achoo! When he sneezed, everyone was thrown back a little when a giant torrent of azure fire shot out of his nose and mouth, lighting up the room completely as the big torrent of fire shot towards the sky. Underscore good thing I got to the window in time. Underscore he thought before turning around to see everyone looked gobsmacked. Sorry about that. When I sneeze I can't really control my fire abilities. He said as they gaped at him before Akino began laughing into her hand and Rias had a smirk and amused look on her face. That's okay Naruto-kun, though now I know one of your abilities. Fire element, huh? I knew having you become my ally would be a great thing. Your fire powers are going to be a great advantage to us, she said as Naruto chuckled. Well, just know I won't be telling you all of them just yet. I will leave them as a surprise. Well, I am sure I will be wonderfully surprised when I do see them, she said before motioning for Naruto to follow her. The two sat down on the couches again as Rias clicked her fingers and a chessboard formed on the table in front of them. Now Naruto-kun, tell me, have you ever played chess before? She asked, smirking a little as Naruto raised his eyebrow at the question. That evening, Naruto walked home as he contemplated the day he just had. The chess match he had with Rias had lasted almost 3 hours. The two just kept trading move after move, and it just was not going anywhere. Sometimes they would spend around 15 minutes on a single move. Rias, who apparently was a great fan and a great player of the game, was surprised to see someone was actually managing to go toe-to-toe with her in a game of chess, since Akino usually gave her the best. Throughout the evening, aside from Kiba wanting to know all about dragons since Rias had told the others about what Naruto really was and having Kaneko say he was pretty cool, he had been called on 2 other contracts. Though thankfully she had kept his parentage a secret since it was not time to let the rest of the world know about Ophis having a child. So far he thought Rias' peerage was pretty cool and that he could see him becoming fast friend with the other members. Akino had expressed great interest in getting to know him more and had been sitting beside him the entire time as he played against Rias. However, as he walked home, a flapping of wings caught his attention and made him stop in his tracks. The flapping sounds were too big to be a bird and they sounded close. There was no one around since the streets were pretty empty. It was then that his senses went haywire and jumped back a few meters. When he looked back in the spot he was standing in, a spear made of blue light was sticking out of the ground. Narrowing his eyes, Naruto disappeared in a great burst of speed before he appeared on top of one of the neighboring buildings. My, you are all alone, little devil? A male voice said as Naruto looked up in the sky. He saw a middle-aged looking gentleman with short black hair and dark blue eyes. His outfit consisted of a pale violet trench coat over a white dress shirt with a matching ascot, black pants and shoes, and a black fedora. On his back there were 2 black wings that looked like crow's wings. Here I thought I would have a quiet journey home, Naruto said aloud as the fallen angel snickered down at him. May I know the name of the person whose ass I am about to kick? Not that it matters, but I am Donasek, fallen angel and your destroyer, he said arrogantly. Well, this guy is certain cocky. He thought. I thought the 3 factions were keeping away from one another? He said, making the fallen angel laugh as a blue light spear appeared in his hand and thrummed with energy. Oh, there is, but I was passing by and I could smell a devil nearby. I just could not resist the chance to take out a little powerless devil, he declared as the light spear in his right hand lit up. He cocked his hand back and threw it straight towards Naruto. Instead of jumping out the way, Naruto shook his head and swept a hand through his hair. Annoying, he said before his hair overshadowed his eyes. Just as the light spear was about to strike Naruto through the chest, it suddenly halted in the air as Naruto caught it just as the tip was about to hit him. He tightened his grip on the light spear until it shattered into hundreds of pieces and faded away. In the air, Donasek gaped in fear at what he just saw. No devil can destroy a light spear like that. It's made of light-based energy, and therefore a devil should be weak against it. Donasek then felt a strong flood of killing intent hit him as it made his entire body shiver in fear. He looked down at Naruto to see Naruto's eyes were now glowing blue, and his pupils were slitted. What are you? He shouted as Naruto disappeared from his spot and reappeared in front of the fallen angel with his dragon wings expanded out. Donasek had a look of fear appear in his face, and swung his right hand toward him, not knowing what else to do. But Naruto easily caught it. You seem to favor your right arm. Let's change that, shall we? He said in a monotone voice as his other hand suddenly swung down on Donasek's right arms and severed the arm of his body. Blood spurted onto Naruto's clothes, making him groan since it was going to be a pain to get out. Donasek screamed in pain and as he held the stump that was once his right arm. He then looked towards Naruto, who now had his right fist cocked back with what looked azure flames flickering from it. By the way, I am no devil. Hiken. He thrusted his right hand forward. An enormous stream of blue fire easily the size of a 3-story house shot out and towards the fallen angel. Donasek stood no chance as he was engulfed in the blue fire. It was so quick that not even a scream was heard. The sky lit up from the blue fire and made some smoke float around in the air. After a minute, the clapped his hand and made the blue fire completely disappear. Donasek was completely obliterated, showing nothing was left. No bones, no ash, no nothing. Just completely wiped of the face of the earth, as if he was never there to begin with. Naruto looked at where the fallen angel was previously standing and sighed a little as he dropped back to the ground and put his wings away. His eyes went back to normal as well, and he picked up his backpack from the pavement. He was about to keep walking but noticed he was still holding Donasek's arm. Yo! he said as he threw it on the ground and clicked his fingers as the arm engulfed in flames. He cracked his shoulders before he went back on his way home. Naruto's manor home. Naruto arrived home minutes later and quickly kicked his shoes off and throwing his backpack onto one of the couches since he had homework to do. As he headed towards the kitchen to get a drink, he took his shirt off and carried the blood-ridden shirt in his hands since it was in desperate need of a wash, and he needed the blood gone. His kitchen was very beautiful looking with white marble floors with a built-in tabletop counter in the center of it with a dark marble top and cupboard and drawers built into it as well as a sink. The other kitchen equipment and necessities were on either side of the counter and left lots of room for people to travel through. The walls were similar to the family room with white walls and dark brown wooden panels. When he arrived in his kitchen, he expected to find it completely empty like he normally did, but instead he found Akino sitting on the tabletop counter with her legs crossed and reading a magazine. "Hey Akino-chan, how did you get in my house?" "The back door," she said, making Naruto facepalm, but he heard her gasp a little at the blood-ridden shirt in his hands. She jumped off the tabletop counter and ushered towards him. "What happened?" she asked as she looked for any injuries on him, though she tried to keep the ogling to herself. Now I know what Rias meant by him having abs carved out of stone. Fallen angel paid me a visit on my way home, he said as Akino had a panic look on her face. "Don't worry, he won't be a problem ever again." "You killed him?" she asked in surprise as he nodded his head. "Then is that his blood? I may have ripped his arm off before disintegrating him with a tower of fire," he said as he clicked his fingers as a small blue flame appeared on his thumbs. Akino would have done a spit take at hearing that he beat a fallen angel so effortlessly, but Akino was staring at the blue flame thinking it was very pretty, and having never seen blue fire before she could not help but marvel at it. "However Akino-chan, I need to wash this and then go shower off. I got blood splattered up my arm," he said as he threw his shirt into the washing machine. Snapping out of her daze, Akino got a lusty look appear on her face. If you like I can wash your back for your Naruto-kun," she said, whispering it haughtily into his ear, making a shiver go up his spine. She laughed at his face before she grabbed his hand and dragged him off out of the kitchen and towards the bathroom. Motherly visits. The past month had been the most interesting month that Naruto had ever lived, and that was saying something. When he had told Rias later that night via cell phone that he had been attacked but had killed a fallen angel, she had teleported straight over to his home to both check that he was okay, and secondly to ask why he never called for help when he was attacked. He shrugged and told her he could handle it on his own, but that was obviously the wrong answer since Rias then tackled him to the ground and to his surprise gave him a spanking. He had not been spanked since he had been 7, and that was from when he sneezed and burned his mother's wardrobe. Once it was over, she told him she was glad he was okay, but next time to tell her sooner since she would not want to lose her new friend so quickly. Then she asked why Akino was there since her best friend was standing there laughing into her hand, while just wearing one of Naruto's large t-shirts and a pair of fuzzy slippers. He quickly explained that Akino was here when he got home and that she had decided for the both of them that she would wash his back. After hearing that, Rias gave Akino a pout and a glare while the raven-haired girl just stuck her tongue out at her. Since then things in Naruto's life had been very lively. Almost every day Rias had challenged him to a game of chess, and the result was always the same. Neither one in the game would always end in a draw. Though he did laugh when he saw how frustrated it was making Rias. He guessed that she was not used to not winning at the game, and not being able to beat him. But another thing he was noticing was that the more time he spent with Rias, the more it seemed to be irking Akino, who he had noticed was a little possessive of him if the tight hugs from behind and the teasing towards him was any sign. His friendship with his other fellow club members was also becoming strong and was defiantly what helped keep him stay sane from all the teasing from the two girls. Naruto and Kiba quickly became friends since Kiba was one of those guys that you just could not hate and seemed like he genuinely wanted to help his friends with any and all kind of matters and problems. Plus Kiba was a pretty good fighter, and his sword play fitted him perfectly since he was Rias' knight. It took a little bit more time with Kaneko since she was very monotone and serious a lot of the time, but eventually she began to warm up to him, and she seemed to come out of her shell more the longer that she spent time with Naruto. Though she still talked in her monotone ways. All in all, Rias' peerage quickly accepted Naruto, and Naruto quickly began to enjoy his time with the strange, but lovable group. Since then a month had passed and it was now well into the springtime as the flowers began to be in bloom and the temperature began to get a little bit warmer. His grades were high and steady and quickly cemented himself as one of Ko's Academy's best students. His gym performance was the best in the school, with Kiba falling closely behind and had more than one run-in with the perverted trio. Each time he caught them doing something perverted, he kicked their asses to the curb, which only made him more popular with the girls of Ko Academy. Currently the Occult Research Club was just outside their headquarters as the girls watched as Kiba and Naruto sparred in a small training field they had, though they were beginning to wonder whether it should have been called a spar in the first place since they were just watching Kiba get his ass handed to him every time. Kiba swung one of his swords toward Naruto, who almost effortlessly ducked. He then quickly stood back up and kicked the boy of his feet before landing another kick that sent him to the ground. "Oof," Kiba called out as he hit the floor with a loud thud and looking a little disoriented as he stared up at the sky. He rubbed the back of his head as Naruto walked slowly in front of him and offered him a hand up. "Need a hand up?" he asked as Kiba nodded and got pulled up by the raven-haired boy. "How did you get so strong?" Kiba asked. Since the incident with the fallen angel, Kiba had wanted to test himself against Naruto, and 3 times a week the two would spar. From the side, Rias, Akino, and Kaneko clapped a little as they had been watching the two go at it. Tanin-sensei was a real slave driver and my mom was no better. They drilled into me at a young age who to defend myself, since mom wanted me to be able to protect myself against various powerful opponents. Since I am a dragon, you can imagine there are a lot of people out there that would want me on their side. Then it is a good thing I got to you when I did. And now you are my loyal ally and friend. Ria said, stroking Naruto's cheek as she went past, as she began to speak with Kiba about his sparring match, and what she felt he could improve on. So how did I do, Kaneko-chan? Naruto asked as the petite white-haired girl appeared and stood next to him. He had sparred with his junior member, and though she was not as quick as Kiba, she was certainly physically stronger, which she proved when she picked up a large boulder and threw it at him. But then again, she was a rook, and they were known focus more on physical strength, whereas knights focused more on their speed. You did well, Naruto-senpai, she said in her usual monotone voice. You now have 12 victories while Kiba is still on 0. I think I see a smile forming on your face, he said to her, since he was trying to get her to smile more, but she turned her head around to stop people from seeing it. No, you don't, she said, making him and Akino laugh a little, which also made her cheeks redden. So did I do well, Akino-chan? He asked as the queen of the peerage looked at him coyly. Of course you did, Naruto-kun. You always do, she said as she leaned into him and pressed her assets against his arm. Naruto reddened a little at the touch. Will you be over for dinner tonight, since you have made it a habit of appearing at my home when you want to? She nodded eagerly. And miss your cooking? I will be over the same time as always. Maybe afterward I could wash your back again, since you enjoyed it the other time I did it, she said as Naruto went a little starry-eyed before he shook himself out of it. Another thing Akino had a habit of doing was appearing when he was in the shower. Not that he minded seeing the beautiful girl all wet and soapy, but he just wished she would tell him beforehand, since he was never prepared for it. Don't forget about me, Naruto-kun. I will be over too, Rias called out, getting a nod and a thumbs up from Naruto. As he did that, he noticed Kaneko and Akino get the Gremory symbols light up on their wrists. Looks like you two have been summoned, he said as Kaneko nodded and made her way inside while Akino pouted. Oh pooh. Here I thought I could have a nice evening with Naruto-kun and Bucho. It just means I will be over a little later than I usually will. I will make sure to save you some, he said as she waved thank you to him before she followed after Kaneko inside. Seeing Rias and Kiba still talking, he headed on inside too so that he could get his day's homework out of the way. Manor home. It was late afternoon as Naruto walked inside his home, and almost immediately he could feel someone was inside his home. He put his bag gently and quietly on the ground as his right fist quickly had flames flicker from it. He could sense they were in the family room, and he narrowed his eyes and focused in on the room. Just as he was about to lunge, a familiar and loving voice called his name. Naruto, are you going to stand there all day, or are you going to come in and give your mother a warm hug? Naruto immediately smiled as the fire on his hands went out and his eyes went back to normal. He walked around the doorframe to find his mother Office sitting on one of the couches drinking tea from a small cup with her eyes closed. She looked no different from when Naruto last saw her. In fact, she looked no different to what she looked like when he was born. But now, since she was in her 18-year-old form, if people saw them together they would probably think they were brother and sister, and possibly twins, not mother and son. She was still wearing her usual gothic Lolita clothes and was barefoot like she normally was, since she always had shoes made her feet feel too cramped. She heard him enter the room and looked at him with her warm brown eyes and beckoned him to come closer. Come, my boy. Naruto smiled and did so and opened his arms to hug her. But when he did not see the annoyed look across her face, and suddenly found himself getting flicked in the head as well as flicked in the nose. Mom, what was that for? He asked, since her flicks of doom, as he called them, were actually quite painful. He was about to ask her again, but instead that she had grabbed his ear and began yanking on it. Let go, let go. You're pulling my ear off. When, young man, were you going to tell me that you have become so chummy with the devil and her peerage? She asked in a cold tone, making Naruto shake. His mother was not a woman you wanted to anger. How did you find out? He asked, wincing as the pain in his ear was great, but tried to keep his cool. Though it was not going to last much longer. I felt it from my location. I know what a peerage induction and reincarnation feels like, Naruto, and I felt you go through it a month ago even if you did not become part of it. No doubt having my blood in you rejected the peerage induction. I was hoping you would tell me yourself, but after a month I began to believe that you were never going to tell me. Therefore here I am having to check up on you and get the full story from you. Well, you were not around and I have no way of contacting you since you are very mysterious and take off for long periods of time, he said, though his mother's gaze did not change. After a minute of just staring at her son, her cold gaze softened and realized before letting go of his ear and sitting him down on the seat beside her. I should have known better, letting you hang around with Baka Red, that eventually he was going to start rubbing off on you. Keeping secret from your poor mother, what am I to think? She said playfully and fake tearing. Naruto meanwhile rolled his eyes. Papa Red had nothing to do with this, Mom, you know that. So please stop trying to blame everything on him all the time, he asked as his mother pouted. Fine. she muttered. He loved his mother, but sometimes he wondered who the mature one was between the two of them. Now back to this devil business, she said, laying her hands in her lap. I want to understand why you are still hanging around with this devil and their peerage. Did you reveal what you were to them and your parentage? Is that because you have trouble making friends and they offered friendship to you? She asked, just wanting to understand the situation. I know you might not understand, but Rias-chan offered me friends and a second family by joining her peerage. Even when my body rejected it, she still offered me friendship and to become an ally of hers. She has kept her word so far. And everyone else in the peerage is great. Akino-chan is great and is over here almost every day, as is Rias-chan. Kiba and I have become pretty good friends, and I know Kaneko-chan is warming up to me. Office looked at her son before she picked up a name that he spoke. Rias? Are you talking about Rias Gremory, heiress of the Gremory family, one of the families of the 72 Pillars? She asked, no doubt having heard of Rias' family. Yeah, that's her. You know of her, I guess? Of course, her family is a very noble and illustrious family. While the devil race has never been a problem to me, the Gremory family has always been held in a positive light in a way. Plus it no doubt helps her knowing your older brother is one of the great Satans. One of the 4 great Satans? Naruto said in surprise. Rias had not mentioned that. He thought her brother being one of the 4 great Satans was something that should be worth mentioning. Her brother was one of the strongest people in the world. Someone who was as strong as Tannen, or perhaps even stronger. He wanted to be a little mad at her for not telling him, but then again she did not know of his connection with Great Red, and that was a secret that was even greater than having a brother who was a Satan Lord. Yes, her brother serves ex Lucifer, member of the great Satans, and in my view the strongest of the 4 great Satans and of the current devil race. She did not tell you, I'm guessing? He shook his head but defended her reasoning. Ophis raised her eyebrow again at this, noticing him defending her. Was it because of his loyalty to her, since if Ophis thought about it, this Gremory girl would have been Naruto's first friend, as was this Akino girl? Was it because of friendship and allegiance, or was it more than that? Anyway, just know that now that you have sworn yourself as an ally to a devil, if a war should ever break out, which hopefully there should not ever be, but if one does, then you will end up having to take part. You have sided with the devils with this alliance with the Gremory girl, she said, but Naruto just nodded. I know, and if that day should come, then I will be prepared. But now I want to ask you something? He asked, getting a raised eyebrow from Ophis. Tell me more about the Cows Brigade? He asked, surprising Ophis. The group his mother had created had always been a point of interest to him, and now he wanted to know more about them. There is not much to tell, to be honest. They were created to help me destroy Great Red. That is all. And you're sure? I mean, surely they have some kind of other objective or motives, right? I'm sure they do, but I don't get involved. Naruto, I put the Cows Brigade together, that much is true, but I am a figurehead. As long as they help me defeat Great Red when the time comes, then what they do in their own time is their business. A business I have no involvement in. You know, I do not interfere in the human world or within the 3 factions. Just like Great Red does not interfere either. But does that not worry you with what they are doing? What if they are doing is hurting people or planning something that hurts innocent people? As I said, I have no involvement in their own agendas, she said as she closed her eyes again. They will help me reclaim my home and bring the silence back. Naruto looked at his mother and shook his head. Ophis, though immensely powerful, only seemed to have a one-track mind, which was getting rid of Great Red. And to Naruto it was just getting kind of pathetic. I'm sorry, Mom, but you really are Navi, he said as he got up and walked away. I love you with all my heart, but sometimes not acting and just watching is nothing more than cowardly. But please know that if your Cows Brigade tries to hurt the people I have grown close to, he said as he turned his head slightly to show his dragon-like eye, then I won't hesitate to destroy them. Naruto then grabbed his bag and walked back up the stairs. Ophis did not say anything and instead just looked away before she was engulfed in shadows and left the manor house. Occult Research Center. Naruto sat on the Victorian-styled couch along with his other club members as Rias spoke in front of them, with Akino taking her usual place behind Rias. He was not entirely sure what she was talking about since he had tuned her out about halfway through. His mind just kept going back to his mother and her dealings with this Cows Brigade. The little more he found out about them, the more the feeling in his gut became uneasy. Naruto, are you listening? Rias' hand waved in front of Naruto, catching his attention. He noticed everyone in the room was staring at him. He looked at them all before smiling and scratching the back of his head. Sorry about that. My mind was elsewhere, Rias-chan, he said as Rias pouted and put her hands on her hips. Did you hear anything that I said? She asked and pouted even more when Naruto shook his head. She sighed and shook her head. Honestly, Naruto-kun, I need you to pay more attention, especially with my news today, she said, now having Naruto's attention. I have reasons to believe that a group of fallen angels are targeting a student in this school. I found out that a girl recently transferred here during the month that gave off energy to that of a fallen angel. I have been watching her movements, and from what I have seen, she is targeting a second-year student by the name of Issei Hayato. Naruto looked at Rias incredulously when he heard that name. Issei Hayato? One of the perverted trio? You are telling me that little pervert has somehow gained the attention of a fallen angel? He asked as Rias nodded. And you are sure about that? I am. In fact, I believe she is going to hit him today since she was seen asking him to go on a date with her after school today. Naruto raised his eyebrow. There is defiantly something wrong with that. Who in their right mind would go out with that little perverted worm? He asked, making Akino giggle and Rias smirk a little. But why him though? What's so special about the little pervert? Rias had a thinking look on her face as she tried to answer the question. I have many hunches as to why, but there is one that stands out the most. Fallen angels don't normally target humans unless it is with good cause. They mostly target angels to try and bring them over to their side, and devils they try to kill them, evident last month when one attacked you. Though he did not fully know what you truly were. My hunch is that as Issei Haidu is a target, then it means that he might be a target due to potentially carrying a sacred gear. Sacred gears? He muttered. I have heard of them, but I do not know much about them. Please fill me in on what they are. He asked as Rias happily nodded. The sacred gears are items with powerful abilities bestowed upon humans by the original God from the Bible. It is explained that the original God of the Bible created the sacred gears as part of his system to enact miracles on earth. For reason unknown, sacred gears has so far only been given to humans, though I can think of one devil who possesses a sacred gear. He was not born with it, however, and only later acquired it in his life. They are seen as very powerful relics, and therefore having a sacred gear user as an ally is a great boost. An ally? Naruto asked, thinking over what she said. You mean you are thinking of turning Issei into a devil? He asked as Rias nodded, though did so hesitantly. Ah, not that little pervert. He groaned. I know Issei is an odd pick and will no doubt be very wet around the ears, but he will be a very valuable member of my peerage. Like I said, a sacred gear user would be very valuable. Also, we have knowledge that the leader of the fallen angels, the Governor Azazel, has a strange obsession with sacred gears. So since this fallen angel seems to targeting Issei to eliminate him, I can only guess that she has something else planned. Getting rid of a potential sacred gear users would be better than having to fight one in the future. He said. Exactly. Naruto nodded and could see the sense in what the fallen angel was trying to do. While he did not like the perverted boy and threatened to beat the crap out of him when he was being pervy with his two friends, the younger boy did not deserve to die for something he had no control over. Huh. He sighed as he scratched his head. Do we know where the little perv is taking his fallen angel date? He is taking her to a nearby restaurant, and then a walk in the park apparently. Well, at least the perv knows how to treat a lady. He commented. So the park is where he will be killed then, I'm guessing? That's where we believe it will happen. It will likely be in a spot where they will be secluded. The fallen angel to prefer secrecy and being sneaky. Later that evening, Naruto stood on top of a building overlooking the park and focusing in on the water fountain that was located in the center of it. Beside him were Akino and Rias, who were just staring towards the spot. So Naruto-kun, have you ever taken a girl out on a date before? He turned his head to see Akino looking at him a little mischievously, wanting to know his answer, while Rias was looking at the corner of her eyes. The question caught him a little off guard, though from their earlier conversation he should have expected it. He had read up on what dates were, and Tannen has explained to him a little bit about them, but he was not expecting the giant powerful dragon to know much about dates. He greatly respected girls, but they just confused the hell out of him. He shook his head. Nope, I have never been on a date before. To be honest, I would not really know what to do on a date, or where to take a girl. I would probably end up just messing it up. Then maybe we should go out sometime. I have never been on a date before, so we could share our first date together. Maybe we could even share a little more. She said, getting closer to him and saying it rather haughtily into his ear. A shiver went down Naruto's back as Akino pressed herself against his arm and nuzzled her cheek against his shoulder. Akino, stop flirting with Naruto-kun. We have a job to do. I think Bucho is just jealous that I am getting some Naruto time and she isn't. Akino said, winking at Bucho, who went a little red. I am not jealous, Akino. But we have bigger things to worry about, she said as she pointed down to the center of the park. It was not long before Issei Haidu, a second-year student with an average build with brown hair that stuck up at the front and had a small ponytail at the back, was walking with his arms linked with a raven-haired girl about the same age who was wearing a violet-colored dress. They stood and watched as the Issei and the girl stopped at the fountain and began light conversation. The two then leaned into what looked like a kiss, but suddenly stopped when her face morphed into a wicked grin. She jumped back and her outfit changed drastically. It changed from a violet dress to some kind of leather bondage uniform that left very little to the imagination. When Naruto saw it, he blushed quite heavily, which only made Akino giggle at his face. My, does Naruto-kun like ecchi and kinky clothes? Who knew, with Issei and Fallen Angel. Now please die, she said as a pink spear of light formed in her hand and she thrust it forwards and through Issei's stomach and out the other side, twisting it as it went in. It made Issei spit blood out of his mouth as his hand tried to cover the gap in his stomach. Smiling as it went in, she wiggled it around a little, making Issei yelp in pain before it disappeared. Issei quickly tried to cover the wound, but the blood would not stop pouring out. My apologies, but ever since I got word that you would be a threat to us, therefore it was decided that you were a threat to us and needed to be taken out. I don't understand. He choked out before he fell on his back. She said, smiling as he went down. Thank you for the memories. I will always remember them, she said as she stood up and stretched her wings. Her black wings then began flapping and she ascended into the air, leaving a few black feather behind from her wings as she disappeared into the night sky. However, just before she completely disappeared, Naruto, who was following the body of the fallen angel, he noticed she suddenly turned her head a little to look back at Issei. When he did, he saw what looked like regret on her face. He would have to question that for another time. Issei just lay there looking up at the sky, not entirely sure what he was to make of this. Is this real? Am I going to die? Is this really how I am going to die? In the middle of a park? He lifted his hand and saw the blood covering them. It's red, just like her hair. Just like Rias-senpai's hair. If I had to die, I would have at least liked to die with my head between her. He thought, still perverted though even in his dying moments. Just as his hand hit the ground, one of Rias' flyers flew out of his pocket and flew into the air and created the red Gremory seal. Roof building. His will to live was stronger than I thought, Rias said, admiring him from a distance. It seems it is time for me to add another member to my peerage. Engulfed in a red light, she disappeared before reappearing down beside Issei and beginning to ritual process. From their spots, Naruto and Akino watched from a distance as Rias began the ritual and engulfed Issei in a red light and planted the pawn similar to what she did with Naruto a month earlier. Well, it looks like you will be having one more to add to the group, Naruto said, sighing, though at least he would not have to deal with the little perv that often other than when they met up at the club building. I'm sure you two will get along. Just give it time and I'm sure he will warm up to you, Akino said, bumping her hips against his. Rias-chan seems to have it handled for now, so we may as well head to our homes. I don't sense that fallen angel anywhere, so she should have no problems, he said before turning to her. Are you going to your home or are you stopping round mine again? He asked as Akino gave him a look that said, what do you think? Right, stupid question. Come on then, let's head off, he said as his dragon wings outstretched and he took off into the sky with Akino following behind, leaving Rias to deal with their new perverted pawn. Here, Naruto sighed as he stood on top of tree branch as he watched the ensuing chaos in front of him. He was currently watching Issei Haidu, Rias' new pawn, run like a headless chicken around the fountain as a fallen angel woman was trying to stick him like a pig with a yellow light spear. Remind me again why you didn't just tell him he is a devil this morning, Naruto asked as he stood next to Rias, who was watching the chase in amusement. They were not the only ones there, with Akino beside him and Kiba and Kaneko sitting on one of the lower branches just beneath them. Kiba watched in amusement, while Kaneko just looked bored of the whole thing. Akino just had a smile during the whole event. As they watched Issei run, he suddenly tripped over his own feet, giving the fallen angel the chance to stab him with her light spear right through the stomach, just like the previous fallen angel form the other night had done. Time to intervene, Rias said as she disappeared in a red flash only to reappear beside Issei with her Gremory seal showing beneath her. I suggest you leave this boy alone, she said coldly to the fallen angel, who looked surprised to see her. Who is this bitch? She said, glaring at Rias before she threw a light spear towards her. Though before it could get close, Kaneko jumped in front of her and kicked it away. When the fallen angel glared and went to attack Rias and Kaneko, an bolt of lightning suddenly shot down in front of her, forcing her to jump back. Then Akino appeared beside Rias. That red hair. So you're Rias Gremory, she said, spitting out her name like it was venom and poisonous. Rias-senpai, Issei muttered before his eyes rolled into the back of his head and collapsed from the pain and exhaustion. I had no idea that this place was under the protection of the Gremory family. It explained the disappearance of one of my comrades a few weeks ago. It must have been you who killed him, she said, glaring at Rias, who simply brushed the comment off. No, not her. That was me, Naruto said as he landed on the ground and walked forward while Kiba appeared beside Rias and the others. You, she said, narrowing her eyes at him. I sense nothing special about you. You're just some low-class devil by the looks of it. Some whipping boy belonging to the Gremory bitch. As she spoke, a heavy pressure suddenly hit her, making her freeze on the spot as Naruto stood there looking at her with an eerie smile on his face. Speak to me how you will, fallen angel-san, but please know that if you insult my friend in front of me again, then I will remove your head from your shoulder. The heavy pressure got stronger for a moment, quickly putting the woman on her knees before it disappeared. Oh, and please stop calling me a devil, because that's not what I am. Seeing she was outnumbered, she quickly spread her wings and went high in the air. Keep your pet on a leash, otherwise he won't be so lucky next time, she said. Rias just smiled as waved her hand. I appreciate the advice, though be warned, next time I will make sure my friend here keeps to his word of removing your head, she said before the fallen angel took off into the skies. Tonight was not the night for a killing, but they had a feeling they would be seeing her again eventually. Once she was gone, everyone visibly relaxed, though Naruto let out a bored yawn and looked toward the spot where the fallen angel was standing before looking over to his king and peerage members as well as the downed Issei. How careless of me. I probably should have intervened earlier so he would not get so injured, Rias said as she bent down to check on Issei. But at least now, since he has been targeted twice in 2 days, we can assume he has something that the fallen angels seem to want to prevent. I will take him home and stay with him, make sure he heals properly, she said as she placed her hand on Issei's shoulder. You should all head home, and we will meet up again tomorrow. Since tomorrow we have a new member to properly induct, she said as the other members nodded at her words. My Bucho staying with her newest pawn overnight. I think you have been replaced, Naruto-kun, Akino said as she happily glomped him from behind, while rubbing her chest against his back. In front of them, Rias mock glared at the raven-haired girl. Akino, stop rubbing yourself against Naruto. I'm sure he does not want you to keep doing that to him every 10 minutes. Naruto though shrugged. To be honest, I'm getting used to it. Plus, I don't deny that I don't like having Akino-chan so close now, he said, since he really had just gotten used to the fact that as long as he was going to be in this group, he was going to have Akino trying to rub herself against him and tease him when she could. See, Naruto-kun likes having me do it to him. I guess that makes me his favorite now, doesn't it? She said, sticking her tongue out playfully as Rias shook her fist at her. My Naruto-senpai certainly seems to have a way with Rias and Akino-senpai, doesn't he, Kaneko? Kiba asked as Kaneko just stood there stoically. I hope senpai is not turning into a pervert, she said, making Naruto mock glare at her. That was cruel, Kaneko-chan. I'm no pervert like this idiot, he said, lightly kicking Issei, which made Rias sweat him lightly on the leg. Anyhow, I best get him back to his home, she said as she was engulfed in her red light as she and Issei disappeared. When she did, everyone else followed and went to their respective homes. Next day, Naruto exited his classroom as Rias and Akino headed off towards the Occult Research Center building, while Naruto went the opposite direction in order to pick up their newest member. On his way, he ran into Kiba, who was tasked to bring Issei as well. Though Kiba was the one sent to get him, Kiba asked him to accompany him since if Issei tried to run, Naruto could easily put him in his place. If he makes just one comment about during today's meeting, then I will kick his ass to the moon and back, he grumbled as they saw the room Issei was in. Now, senpai. I'm sure Issei-san won't be that bad. He may be a little more observant when it comes to the female body, but I am sure he won't be too bad, Kiba said, though Naruto doubted that very much. Yeah, well, we will see. Entering the second-year classroom, almost immediately they grabbed the attention of the second-year girl, who quickly crowded around them. Kiba tried to calm them down while Naruto walked past and grabbed Issei by the collar. Come on, perv, you're coming with us, he said, catching everyone off guard as Kiba sighed at how Naruto was handling the new pawn. Ah, hey, put me down, Issei said, struggling, though Naruto just ignored him and pushed him forward. How dare Issei Baka go anywhere near Naruto-kun? Stay away from him, you perverted trash. We don't want you sullying Naruto-senpai. The girls all yelled at Issei despite it was he who was getting manhandled. Kiba stepped in front and shook Issei's hand. Hello, Issei-san. I am Kiba Yuto. Rias-senpai has asked us to come and collect you and take you to the Occult Research Club. Our Rias-senpai asked you to come get me? She said someone would come and get me, but I didn't think it was going to be you too? He said, stuttering a little as he looked between Naruto and Kiba. What, did you really think we were going to let you near some girl, you little perv? Naruto asked, raising his eyebrow, making the girls in the classroom squeal, while Issei paled and shook his head. No, not at all. Just a surprise, that all. How can I not be thankful that Naruto and Kiba-senpai came to get me? He said, trying to defuse the situation. Come on, let's just go, Naruto said, dragging Issei away with them by the collar as Kiba smiled happily, waved goodbye to the girls before they left to meet the other members. Occult Research Building. Naruto sat beside Kaneko, who was happily munching on a biscuit, while Kiba was leaning against the side of the walls observing Issei with close eyes as Rias sat in front of him and was explaining to Issei everything he needed to know. So far he was surprised to see Issei was taking quite well, though noticed his eyes were trailing a little south from Rias' eyes. A kick to the shin made Issei jump and pay attention. Keep your eyes focused, perv, because if I see them trailing south again, then I will light your ass on fire, he said, and to prove his point clicked his fingers and had blue fire dancing around them. A maniacal grin on his face also put the fear of death into Issei. You made fire appeared. Then it really is true. I am a devil, he said, weeping anime tears down his face. We are all devils, Issei, and now with your resurrection you are among your own kind, Rias informed as everyone who was a devil made their wings appear. So everyone in here are devils? Issei asked. No, Naruto said, standing up and letting his wings shoot out. They are devils. I'm a dragon, way more cooler, he said, giving the others peace sign while Rias and the others stuck their tongues out at him. Issei meanwhile a euro. Ah, dragon. What the hell do I do? He will kill me, he said as he began to panic. Naruto rolled his eyes as Rias calmed him down. Akino and Kiba laughed while Kaneko shook her head and just stood there quietly. Do I really have to be here for this? He asked, since he really did not want to stay and listen to Issei bitch and moan. He looked at Kaneko, and she was giving off some similar kind of feeling. Rias sighed. No, I guess you don't, since you are not a member of my peerage. However, know that tomorrow there is no meeting and instead meet us at this location. We need to take Issei out on a test drive and show him what we do as well as what he will have to face one day. That's fine. I will make sure I am there. Unless this is a peerage thing only? He asked. No, you can come along, of course. You are part of this club and therefore you can come. Just make sure you are there on time. Will do, he said as he did a few stretches. Now if you would excuse me, I have somewhere to be and I am not sure how long I have, he said as he walked towards the door out of the room. Where you going, senpai? Who is the lucky lady you got a date we don't know about? Kiba asked as everyone looked over at him. Something like that, he answered as he left the room, leaving two girls behind him with surprised and slightly envious faces. Later on with Naruto. Naruto stood across the street from one of the small diners in the area as he stared through the window and at the girl at the back of the diner sitting on her own. So that's where you are, little fallen angel, he said, looking towards the slightly younger girl. He had been looking for her since she had killed Issei, mainly so he could get answer from her such as why Issei, and did she know what sacred gear he carried. Since he was not part of her peerage, he decided it would be best to keep Rias and the others out of this one. Devils and angels don't quite mix together, at least not yet. They did anyway. He looked across the street before he began walking and crossed the road and on to the other side. Opening the door to the diner, he got a strong waft of burgers and fries hit him. No one made no mind to him as he entered. Even the raven-haired girl was focusing mainly on her ice cream sundae. Walking over, his hand traced and brushed against the other seats until he got to her table and took a seat just across from her. When he did, her bite into her sundae stopped midway as she looked up at him. When she saw him, a blush creeped onto her face. She quickly finished the bite. Hello. You're Naruto, right, from Ko Academy? It's nice to meet you, she said happily and shyly. Yeah, I am, and you are Yuma, correct? I heard you transferred to our school but suddenly transferred out again yesterday. I saw you and wanted to know why. I hope the school did nothing to upset you or the people there. Oh no, I got what I needed there, but I guess the school just was not for me, she said, shuffling with the hem of her skirt, though he noticed her eyes were darting across the room. Please drop the act, fallen angel-san. I don't like it when people aren't acting like their real selves. I think we both know why you really left, he said as he saw the surprise and shock appear on her face. He noticed her right hand go under the desk and a small light appear. Underneath the table, a small dagger made of light appeared in her hand. However, before she could do anything, Naruto's hand grabbed her first and destroyed the dagger. It surprised her before her eyes narrowed. That's not very nice. I am just here to talk to you, he said as she suddenly got an angry look on her face. What do you want, devil? Whatever it is, I am not giving it to you so you can forget it. Naruto looked at her and raised an eyebrow at her behavior before he twisted her wrist a little, getting a small yelp from her. Now that I am not a devil, so please do not call me as such. First, may I first know your name, since I doubt Yuma is actually your real name, he said as she glared at him and mentally debating whether to say anything to him. Rainier. My name is Rainier. Well, Rainier-san, it's nice to meet you. I'm Naruto, as you already know. Now I will let go off your hand if you promise not to fire any light objects at me. I'm not here to attack you, just to talk, he said as he slowly removed his hand from. When he did, he saw her hand twitch before it came up on the table and rested on top of her other hand. Fine, then talk, she ordered as Naruto leaned back in his chair. Why did you attack Issei Hayato? He asked, already seeing a look of panic appeared in her eyes. I needed a reason? The boy is a pervert. If anything, people should be thanking me, she said. See, I don't quite believe that. From what I know about fallen angels is that you don't just kill a human for the sake of it. They must have either done something to have really pissed you off, or they have something you don't want to realize they have, he said. The moment he said that, her eyes flashed in surprise and a little bit of fear, knowing he had her. Does Issei Hayato have a sacred gear? He asked. Rainier looked at him and didn't answer. I am going to take that as a yes. And since you had him killed, I am guessing it is a powerful sacred gear? Again she said nothing. Though you want to know what I think? He asked as she just looked at him unemotionally. I don't think you wanted to kill him, really. I saw you kill him, and I saw you look back and towards his fallen body. You did not want to hurt him, but someone ordered you to, didn't they? Rainier did not answer but instead got up and went to leave before Naruto grabbed her wrist. Though it was not tight like before, but this time gentle. I don't care about the three factions because my species is not part of any of them other than a select few. Rainier, I can see that are making you do things that you don't want to. And when you do them, you put up some kind of mask that makes you look like some kind of crazy deranged killer. When really that the opposite of what you really are. Why? She said quietly. Why are you saying this stuff to me? Because I can see a troubled heart when I see one. You have a good heart. I could tell that when I saw you regret what you did. You did it because you're afraid of what might have happened if you did not go through with it. If need be, I can protect you. I am far more powerful than any of the current devils and fallen angels in this area. Rainier did not say anything at first but instead took her wrist out of his grip and walked away. You can't help me, she said quietly before she quickly left. Naruto watched her leave before steeling himself. He sat there for a few minutes thinking about what just happened. Though he did not get much, he knew two things that was for sure. Issei definitely had a sacred gear, and second was that Rainier was not a bad person but someone who was being pushed to being made evil by someone else. Naruto got up and left the diner, new subjects and matter now on his mind. The next night, Naruto stood outside an old warehouse leaning against the wall as he watched Rias fill them in about what they were here to do. We got reports that a stray devil has been spotted in this location and that it was luring people into the warehouse so that it could consume them. We have been tasked with getting rid of it and making sure no one else gets harmed by this stray devil. Everyone nodded, though Issei looked confused. What's a stray devil? He asked. It was Kiba that spoke up. A stray devil is a devil like us who was once a member of a peerage, but has strayed away from his or her king or master. The most likely way to become a stray devil is by killing their master. Stray devil also tend to become very violent and act out, so other devils have to put them down before they can cause too much damage. Without his master, his demonic powers has no limits, and we are here to pass judgment on him, Rias added as members of her peerage nodded their heads. Issei nodded as they began to walk inside. Everyone was on alert, though Naruto looked a little bored and just had his hands in his pockets. Issei, I want you to pay close attention tonight. Tonight will let you understand just how dangerous devil battles can be and what you can expect from them, Rias said as Issei kept close, the darkness inside the building making him feel uneasy. I smell something, but also something delicious, an eerie voice called out, put Rias and her peerage members on alert. As they stopped, a giant figure appeared from one of the corners, getting their attention. It was a young woman with a voluptuous figure with long black hair, but her lower body was gigantic and beastly with 4 legs, each having sharp claws, and a snake as a tail. She was completely and was showing her large, which of course caught the attention of the pervert Issei. He hollered to before Naruto swatted the back of his head, quickly shutting him up. Visser, you have betrayed your king and as such are now known as a stray devil. We are here to pass judgment on you, Rias said toward the monster-like woman. My, what bold words! I guess I must just try and paint the wall in blood just like your hair, Visser exclaimed as he laughed and fondled her in front of them all. Have you no shame? Naruto asked from his spot as he walked from the group and leaned against one of the nearby walls. But then again, small fry like yourself only has big words. The stray devil, however, took no notice of his words as her insane laughing just got louder and louder. Naruto then watched as she grabbed her and noticed her began glowing. Oh, please tell me you are kidding, he said, but of course it did as yellow light beams suddenly shot out of her. I have not met many devils, but I think the entire race seems to be a bunch of pervs, he said, shaking his head as he watched the peerage begin dodging the light blasts. Kiba targeted the monster as he drew his sword out of its sheath and disappeared from their sight. He then reappeared moments later as 2 of the creature's legs suddenly cut off and fell to the ground, making the stray devil yell out in pain. As she screamed out, Kaneko began walking patiently and calmly towards the stray devil, not listening to Issei as he shouted at her to come back since she could get hurt. By now the stray devil appearance became much more monster-like as its chest and front part suddenly opened up into a set of jaws and went forward. Kaneko did not move and allowed the body of jaw to engulf her and clamp around her. Well, now Kaneko-chan just want to show her strength to everyone, Naruto said to those that were listening. Issei did not understand what he meant before he noticed that the body set of jaws suddenly began to reopen slowly. When it did, it revealed Kaneko standing there with a bored look as her arms held the jaws open almost effortlessly. This is boring, she said from inside before she suddenly spun around and completely destroyed the makeshift teeth, making the stray devil cry out in even more pain than before. She then kicked it away and made it go through one of the stone pillars. Now Akino, why don't you finish her off? Rias asked pleasantly as Akino smiled at her and nodded and began walking forward. Issei, as he watched, noticed one of the arms form earlier was beginning to move around and that its fingers were wiggling around. Naruto noticed it too and was about to move and stop whatever Ti was about to do before he saw Issei already moving. The hand shot forward and targeted Rias, however before it could get close, Issei appeared next to it, knocked Rias out of the way and called UT Sacred Gear. When he did, he punched the arm away and knocked it to the other side. Everyone stopped and turned around to look at what was on Issei's hand. It was red gauntlet that left the user fingers visible from the bottom, had a green round orb in the center of the back hand and 2 golden yellow sharp point running down the side almost like small wings. Whoa, Issei said as Rias and the others marveled at the sacred gear while Naruto narrowed his eyes to it. So you did have a sacred gear in you? I knew you did, Rias said before snapping herself out of it and looking towards Akino. Finish her. Akino turned her head and looked directly towards the fallen monster as an emotionless and scary look appeared on her face. You shall be punished, she said as she held her hand up as lightning seemed to form on the ceiling and gathering right above the fallen monster. No, she screamed UT before the lightning descended down and engulfed the fallen monster completed and making a small explosion occur. Once the lightning died down and the smoke had gone, the stray devil was on the floor barely breathing. Checkmate, Rias said as she walked up to it and stuck her arms out. Her red Gremory seal appeared in front of her along with a ball of red energy. So that's her power of destruction. I hear that power belongs to the Bale family in the underworld. Guess one of her parents must have been a member of that family before marrying into the Gremory family. It looked quite powerful, though I wonder how powerful it can become since her brother is known to have that power as well. Naruto thought as he watched it gather up before it shot forwards and completely eradicated the stray devil, making her faded from existence completely. When she was long, they all turned to look at the sacred gear on Issei's arm. As Naruto got closer to it, he began to sense something familiar about it. It felt very dragon-like in a way and was giving of a strong aura. Not much at first, but the closer he got to it, the more noticeable it got. We will have to check the books and fields when we get back to Occult Research Club to find out which of the sacred gears you have inherited. It is definitely a power type, I can tell that you that much, Rias said as she examined it, but inwardly a little giddy that one of her peerage members has a sacred gear. Naruto stepped forward and grabbed Issei's gauntlet's arm to everyone's surprise. He looked it over closely, noticing how the gold sharp points on the side looked like dragon wings and that the top of the gauntlet had a dragon scale-like pattern. Everyone was surprised and tensed a little when they heard a low rumbling growl come from Naruto that sounded very intimidating and had everyone on edge. Especially Issei, since his hand was still in Naruto's. "What is it, senpai?" Kiba asked, standing next to him, as did everyone else. "You don't need to check any files because I already know what sacred gear he has received," he said, surprising everyone. "I checked my home files and books and looked up sacred gears formed the other day. It has a surprisingly well-listed index of the different sacred gears. And I recognize this one because it is one that stood out for me. He has inherited a dragon-type sacred gear. One of the 13 Longinus, the one known as Booster Gear, which is known for containing the great Welsh dragon. Fight for the new bishop." Naruto sat in the manor house office as he read an old book that lay flat on the desk in front of him, his eyes scanning it wildly, checking for as much any information on his given subject. The book he was reading looked old but was red in color with gold metal on the edges. On the front was the tribal face of a dragon. The Draconomicon was a book that Tannen has passed down to him, which contained information on his species as well as the past, present and current dragon kings and the names of those dragon that were higher than the dragon kings, the Welsh dragon. Of all the sacred gears the little perv could have gotten, it had to be one of the sacred gears containing one the heavenly dragons. The 2 dragons that are stronger than the 5 current dragon kings by quite a margin. The heavenly dragons are recognized as the highest rank class of the dragons that are only under my mother and Great Red. He was not sure what to feel about Issei having the boosted gear containing the Welsh dragon. On one hand, he felt happy knowing that the Welsh dragon was nearby and that if possible he could try and contact the powerful dragon for any future advice, since the Welsh dragon was known as a legend among his kind. He was just not happy that he was sealed into an artifact and was being wielded by Issei Haidu, the boy who in his mind did not deserve that power, someone who cared more about when he could finally have sex than anything else in the world. All the boy had was a one-track mind, something he showed every day at Ko Academy, and even during the attack on the stray devil. It was breast this and breast that with him, Naruto growled as he went back to reading. The Welsh dragon, otherwise known as Drake, is one of the 2 heavenly dragons, nicknamed the Red Dragon, as well as the Welsh Dragon and Red Dragon Emperor. Drake is a red-scaled dragon with emerald green eyes, standing 17 meters tall at 60 meters in length. The strength of Drake is said to be greater than that of dragon kings and surpasses that of Satan lords and archangels, and was said to be able to have mass powers over the element of fire. The opponent of the Welsh dragon and lifelong rival is the vanishing dragon Albion, and has been known to be rivals since their times of birth. Centuries ago, during the Great War, the 2 dragons fought, interrupting and attracting the attention of devils, angels and fallen angels. Seeing a threat as their fighting continued to get out of hand, they were engaged and defeated by the 3 factions and bodies blown into pieces. With their bodies gone, their souls were later sealed in God's artifacts, the sacred gears. From history, Drade was sealed into the sacred gear known as Boosted Gear. Naruto looked down at a small picture of a gauntlet that looked very similar to the one he saw on Issei earlier that evening. Then beside it was a picture of a dragon. The dragon in some ways looked a lot like Great Red, though not as big and without the horn on the snout and chin. Even the color of the dragon was a lot like Great Red. He leaned back on his chair as he swept his hand through his hair, the event of the evening taking its toll on his mind. After the discovery of the boosted gear, Naruto quickly went home, while the others went back to the Occult Research Center, and Issei being sent on a contract summoning as soon as the night with the stray devil was over. The devils, angels and fallen angels destroyed his body and locked him away in a sacred gear. I wonder if it's possible to create a new body for him and take him out of that sacred gear. He thought. Thinking it would be best to call it a night for now, Naruto picked up the Draconomicon and walked over to a painting hanging up on the wall. Taking it down, it revealed a safe from behind it. Opening it up, he placed it inside where another few books lay. All the books he had in the safe were either received from Tannen and Ophis, and books that were either very rare or the only ones of their kind. Occult Research Center. The day after the incident with the stray devil, the members of Rias peerage were conversing in the main room, with the noticeable exception of Issei, who was most likely perving on some poor young girl again. Though that is what Naruto thought, at least. "So you guys ran into an exorcist?" he said as Rias told him about their other little battle later that night that Issei had walked into. Yes, apparently the exorcist named Freed killed the summoner, and began engaging Issei in a battle. There was also a nun there that Issei seemed to recognize, since he kept looking over at her and calling her name. Apparently met her earlier that day, and the two struck up some kind of friendship. Befriending a nun? Not very devilish of him, Naruto commented as typed away on his Mac laptop, half concentrating on his story in front of him and half listening to Rias. Yes, well, we sensed that something must have been going wrong since his summons had been much too long. When Nu arrived, he and the exorcist were at each other's throats. We pushed the exorcist back before grabbing Issei and leaving, since we had no reason to remain. Though Issei wanted to stay for his nun friend. Odd. Don't think I have heard of a devil befriend a nun in such a manner. He does know he can't go anywhere near any churches, doesn't he? He does, though I get the feeling he will still go near them. Might do us a favor, he muttered as Rias swatted him playfully on the back of his head. Be nice. He may be new to this, but give him some time, he will get the hang of being a devil, Mr. Dragon. she said as Naruto rolled his eyes but kept his attention on the screen in front of him. Rias looked at Naruto typing away on his computer, and pouted that he was not looking at her and barely paying attention to her. She looked over to Akino laughing into her hand. Not wanting to be ignored by the young dragon, Rias leaned down and pressed herself against his back, looking at what it was he was doing. What are you doing, Naruto-kun? It must be important if you are only paying half attention to me. Naruto raised an eyebrow and took his gaze of the screen for a moment as he looked at her before he gave her an answer. I'm writing. I can see that. Writing what exactly? A story? Ooh, really? Rias asked quite happily. What is it about? I did not know you liked to write. I love to write. Anything with books, to be honest, but I enjoy writing as a pastime. My hobby, I guess. Just like you with your chess, Akino with her S&M fetishes. He got a wink from Akino at that comment, Kiba and his fencing and Kaneko and her fetish with cats. He got a cookie thrown at his head from the younger girl. And what is it about? She asked while he gave her a teasing smile. Well, for that you will have to wait and see when I finish it, he said, grinning, making Rias narrow her eyes at him. Now come on, Naruto-kun, tell me. Pretty please? She asked as she used the puppy dog look that all guys seemed to not be able to resist. Naruto did his best not to give in, but he could feel his willpower beginning to give in. The look just got more sad and more pathetic to the point where he could not look anymore. He shifted the laptop in front of her. Fine. Rias happily squealed a little as Akino and the rest of the peerage appeared next to her to look at the screen, making Naruto's sweat drop. Underscore like master like servants, I guess. Underscore, he thought. However, just as they were about to scroll up to the top to begin reading, Issei barged through the door looking sweaty and dirty with a panicked look in his eyes, causing everyone to shift their attention over to him. Senpai! He called out as he tumbled to the ground, making those in the peerage get up and go over to him. Issei. What's wrong? Why are you so out of breath? It's Asia. She got taken by that fallen angel. The one that killed me when I was a human. He said, now getting Naruto's attention as he listened in. We were at the fountain in the park when Yuma or Rainer, whatever you call her, appeared and said she was taking Asia with her. I tried to fight her off, but she was too strong for me and she pushed me back. She grabbed a hold of Asia and flew off into the sky. I tried to follow after them, but she was too fast. Why are they so interested in this nun girl? Kiba asked as Naruto looked at Issei, who was looking around a little nervously. What are you not telling us, Issei? Naruto asked, standing up and walking towards the group. Issei saw everyone glancing at him, while Rias gave him a look telling him that he had better answer. Asia has this strange ability that she showed me when I first met her. She can make this green light appear in her hands, and can heal people of any injury. She was called the Holy Maiden because of it. A sacred gear, Naruto said, catching everyone's surprise. Another sacred user is in town, and this one could be helpful for them. No doubt they realize the ability to heal someone with this power will give their group an advantage. Please help me find them so I can save Asia, Issei asked as Kiba and Kaneko looked ready to set out. No. I forbid it, Rias said, surprising him. You must forget about her. You are a member of the Gremry family now. We don't mix with those related to the church. Then release me so I can go after her myself, Naruto snorted. If you can't take out one fallen angel, then you won't be of much use saving her. There are bound to be more fallen angels in wherever their base is. Issei ignored Naruto's words. It does not work like that. I cannot just release you because you want to save someone. It's not a good enough reason. But I'm just a pawn. Surely it would not matter all that much? He asked before Rias began to debate to him about being a pawn and the positives about his sacred gear. Naruto meanwhile went over to the window and closed his eyes. Since he met Rainer the other day, he had made sure to familiarize himself with her energy signature. It was not as powerful as Akino or Rias, maybe on the same level as Kiba or Kaneko, but it was still big enough for him to notice. As he searched for about a minute, his eyes snapped open and looked in the direction of where he could feel her. There were multiple other signatures around here that felt dark and shadow-like, while amongst them there seemed to be a lighter signature that felt more positive sticking out. So that's the nun girl. He thought as he turned around to look back at the peerage as Rias spoke up. Myself and Akino have some errands to run. We will be back and later, so please do not go looking for trouble, she said, mainly focusing on Issei, who had a downcast look on his face. Everyone nodded before Rias and Akino gave Naruto a wave as they left the room. So Perv, what are you going to do? Stay here or are you going to go save your friend? He asked as Issei looked up at him confused. But I thought you said I would not be able to last a minute if I go save Asia? He asked as Naruto rolled his eyes at him. I said you would not be able to do it alone. Yet I'm guessing Kiba and Kaneko-chan here are okay with going with you if their determined looks are anything to go by, he said as Kiba and Kaneko nodded as Kiba smiled at Issei. Since you're going in enemy territory, it's best to have someone go with you, Kiba answered. I don't trust you boys going alone, she said as Naruto inwardly grinned. Issei smiled as the trio got their things together and left to go save Asia. Naruto watched as they left before speaking. So I take it you two don't actually have any errands to run. From behind him, Rias and Akino reappeared, though Akino reappeared on his back. I knew that he would go anyway, and with Kiba's sense of loyalty he would have gone with him. And where Kiba usually goes, Kaneko follows. So then what will you two do? he asked. Rias sighed and put her hands on her hips. We may as well go and help them. Make a diversion so we can attract as many fallen angels and priests as we can so that their path is more clear. However, can I count on you as my ally to watch over them for me? She asked as Naruto nodded. I will, as long as you do me one favor in return. That fallen angel that killed Issei. If you come into contact with her, don't kill her. Both girls looked surprised at that. Why, may I ask? Rias asked, with both girls feeling a bit of jealousy in their stomachs. Naruto shrugged. I have a feeling her hand was more forced into this than her doing it willingly, he said as they both looked at him skeptically but nodded. We will try. They both said as Naruto nodded to them in thanks before all three were engulfed in a transport seal before all three suddenly left to their locations. Later on with Naruto watched as Kaneko punched open the doors to the old, worn-down church with Issei and Kiba running in after her. The church itself was extremely old as it was missing a bit of its wall and looked like no one had inhabited it for some decades. It was also quite the way out of the town, so it probably did not get seen often. It made it a prime place for a secret base of sorts. From here he could sense Ria and Akino already engaged against 3 fallen angels. However, by the power the 2 girls were giving off, he knew they could handle it no problem, though he could also sense that one of the fallen angels fighting them was Rainer. He just hoped Rias and Akino would keep their word and not killing her. From inside, the trio moved quickly through the building, checking each corridor before they got to center of the old church. Inside they heard light footsteps coming towards them. Naruto looked from a distance to see a young man with short white hair and red eyes. As a priest, he was dressed in clerical clothing. And I thought I killed you, Issei-san, he said as he looked at the group as the trio got in their stances. To see you alive has irritated me. Normally I kill a demon the first time I see them, so seeing you alive here, it's pissed me off, he said as a hilt appeared in his right hand as light energy shot out of it, making a blade, and a gun appeared in his left. Now let's go, he said as Kiba was the first to engage him as the two began to battle in a battle of swords. They parried a lot, making sparks fly from their blades, connecting and swiped at each other's head multiple times. Though after a few moments Fried began using his gun and fired at Kiba. Kiba, however, proved why he was the knight, and quickly dodged each bullet. Guess you're more of a man than a pretty face, Fried said to Kiba as he fired a shot at his head, but Kiba jumped and back flipped through the air. Holy eraser, Kiba called as his sword blade went pitch black and collided with Fried's. The darkness began to swallow the light, showing Issei and Fried that he too had a sacred gear. You're another gear user, Fried said, a little surprised as he licked his lips. Issei-kun, Kiba called as Fried looked to his right to see Issei's right fist coming towards him. Rook promotion, he said as his fist gathered a lot of unknown strength and punched Fried in the right side of his face, sending the white-haired boy flying through the air and crashing through a table. That felt good, Issei said, clenching his fist as Fried got back up. Meanwhile, as Naruto watched from his spot on the roof, he felt a presence he did not recognize arrive in the area a little way off. He narrowed his eyes. I don't remember Rias or Akino saying they would call for any other assistance. He thought before he quickly left to check it out. It only took a few minutes before he found who he was looking for. On one of the high tree branches on the other side of the church building there stood a gentle-looking, handsome young man with blonde hair and wore some high-class clothes that he recognized as the kind of clothing devils wore. As he got closer, he saw the boy tilt his head and then look up at him. Oh my, it seems I have been found out. I guess Asia-chan will have to wait a little while longer, he said aloud, making Naruto narrow his eyes. My name's Diodora. I won't say my last name since I don't feel like it, and I think you can figure it out for yourself. Until next time. Naruto moved at a quick speed. You're not going anywhere, he said, but a magic seal already glowed underneath the guy. He gave Naruto a wave before he left, leaving no trace that he was even there. The hell was with this guy? He thought as he glared at the spot where he had been standing before. He decided he would think on it more later and for now would go back to the others. Back with the others, Fried groggily stood up as he glared at the trio of devils. Don't fuck with me, he said as he got out another light sword and went to hit Issei, but was instead thrown aside when a couch thrown at him by Kaneko collided with him. I won't be killed by you demons, he said as he recovered from the attack and jumped away, now seeing he could not win against 3 devils at the same time, and down a hatch in the wall leading to an underground room. The 3 devils followed the staircase until they found themselves in a large room without windows, lit up only by candlelight. At the end of the room was a stone platform with stairs leading up it, and on top of that was a large stone cross. However, they noticed in front of the stone platform was around 20 figures, all in black cloaks with fallen angel wings on their backs. When they all went in, they all noticed a girl was hanging from it, chained to the cross. She was a pretty girl around the same age as Issei and Kiba, with long straw blonde hair, white skin, and wearing some kind of nightwear dress. Beside that was another person. She was a tall and buxom woman with long, navy blue hair that obscured her right eye and brown eyes. Her outfit consisted of a violet, trench coat-like top with a wide collar, a matching miniskirt, and black-heeled shoes. Fried was on the side laughing manically. Are you nearly done, Calawarner? He asked as his face grew excited. Asia, Issei shouted as Asia began to glow green and green veins began to appear on the cross. The woman beside her chuckled. My, is this not a touching reunion? My name is Calawarner, but I apologize. This ceremony is almost over, as will your friend," she said, making the three devils run forward. However, the fallen angels dressed in robes stood defensively in their way. Kajiro. A single word rung out as a stream of fire shot past Issei, Kiba and Kaneko and collided with the fallen angels. A majority managed to jump out of the way in time, but a third of them got trapped by the fire and was vaporized by the wave of fire. This seems like quite a nice gathering. You mind if I join in? Naruto said, making himself known to the room as Issei and Kiba smiled happily seeing their friend and peerage ally. Even Kaneko had a tiny smile at her face. Who the hell are you? Calawarner called out as she glared over at Naruto, while Fried looked joyful that he had another person to kill, a friend of the Gremry peerage. You see, that girl is a friend of Rias-chan's pawn, and while I may not like him all that Muchihiro, this caused Issei to cry anime tears. I won't let an innocent girl have her life taken forcibly from her. I knew taking this girl for them would be a great idea. Another devil to kill. Fried said, laughing happily as Naruto sighed. Why does everyone think I'm a devil? Do I have a sign on me or something? He asked as the three devils shrugged. Anyway, you three think you can handle things in here? He asked as they nodded. Good, you take care of the fallen angels while I'll make short work of the exorcist. Short work? Short work? I will kill you for your insolence. Fried shouted in a crazed frenzy before Naruto appeared in front of him with a great burst of speed and wrapped his hand around his neck. His wings shot out of his back, alarming those who had never seen them before. They began flapping strongly and ascended into the air, making a large hole in the roof as he did so. As they left, Issei, Kiba and Kaneko readied themselves before charging to save Asia, with Naruto. As the battle commenced inside the old church, outside Naruto dealt with the crazed exorcist. When Naruto dropped to the ground, he threw Fried a good 10 meters across the ground before he went through a tree and his head scraped across the earth, getting winces and cries of pain from him. I will destroy you. In the name of the Lord, he said, drawing breath as he stood back up. Only Naruto never gave him the chance, as a strong right hook sent him straight back to the ground. Get up, Naruto ordered, looking down at the exorcist before grabbing his collar and hoisting him up. Take this, Fried called out as he suddenly grabbed a metal cross from his pocket and shoved it in Naruto's face and onto his left face cheek. Ah! Naruto cried out as it impacted, making Fried laugh. Not some devil HUH? Then how come it burns? He said viciously before his eyes widened as he heard Naruto cry become light laughter. He looked back up at the exorcist and raised an eyebrow at him. Was that supposed to do something? He asked as Fried noticed his cross on his skin was doing no sort of damage. There was no burns on his cheek, signifying that the cross and holy powers were having no effect against him. How can this be? If you had been listening properly from before, then you would have known that I am no devil, Naruto said as he threw Fried across from him before his wings shot out from his back, flew forward and impaled Fried in the shoulders with the spike on each wing. Fried screamed out in pain as they kept him pinned against the wall. When he struggled, it just hurt even more and delved deeper into his shoulder. You know Euro, Naruto said, picking up the cross from Fried's hand. Since you seem to like crosses, how about I give you a permanent one on your body? He said as his eyes skittered and dragon-like scales formed under his eyes, making Fried widen in terror. What are you? He whispered as Naruto grinned at him before leaning towards his ear and whispered in it. I'm a human-shaped dragon that will shake this world to its very core, he said as he leaned out to see Fried's terrified eyes bearing into him. He then jumped back and took out his wings from Fried's shoulder before he stuck his hands out and made a simple cross with his middle and index fingers on each hands. His fingers flickered with flames, making Fried look scared for his life. Here is my parting gift to you, Naruto said before he said aloud, Jijika. Crossfire. From his cross-shaped fingertips, a pillar of fire the shape of the cross shot out from his fingers directly towards Fried. The blast hit him square on the chest, making him yell out loud at the burning pain he was in. The fire burnt away the middle section of his shirt, and when the fire had gone, a hole in his shirt was now presented with massive burn marks on his chest, with a cross-shaped burn now embedded in his skin. Fried looked ready to pass out as the pain from the attack was unbearable. Goodbye, Fried the exorcist. May this be your warning never to come near my friends and allies again, Naruto said before he grabbed him by the collar and threw him off the ledge and down into the river below, 100 meters down. Waiting before he heard the splash, Naruto sighed and swept his hand through his hair before he made his way back to the church. It only took a few minutes to return, but already he could see that the fighting had ended, if the presence of Rias and Akino were any indication. They were all now outside the church with the girl Asia in Issei's lap as he held her close. Though when he saw Issei, he noticed the gauntlet on his hand had changed a little. His hand was now completely covered by the gauntlet, and it had taken on a more dragon-like appearance. I guess he managed to improve his control so he could unlock a secondary form. Guess there is hope for the perv. Lay her down, Issei. If I can, I will try and resurrect her as a devil and have her join my peerage, Rias said as she noticed Naruto watching from a little ways off. He gave her a warm smile, giving her thumbs as a way of telling her the exorcist has been taken care of. She smiled back at him, as did Akino, who gave him a wink. He blushed a little but still smiled at her, Asia leaned down delicately with her hands settled gently on her chest as Rias formed a chess piece in front of in the shape of the bishop piece, and settled it over Asia's chest. I command thee, Asia Argento, on my name Rias Gremry, become my servant and lead a new life as my bishop. Everyone watched as the bishop piece glowed, as did Asia as the Gremry seal appeared beneath her. Light shined upwards, making a few of them cover their eyes. The bishop piece then absorbed into Asia's chest, signifying it was accepted. After about a minute the lights died down, and Asia lay there breathing easily. Everyone smiled and felt elated that another member was added to their peerage. When Rias and Akino looked back over to Naruto, they saw he was gone, having silently left during the peerage induction process. With Naruto walked through the forest as he headed towards the spot where Rias and Akino were doing their part in tonight's battle and had taken on 3 of the stronger fallen angels of the group. As he walked he could sense the person he was looking for. She was alive but was hurt and exhausted. He was glad Rias and Akino had stuck by their word. He walked into a small opening in the forest where he saw the signs of battle with scorch marks from Akino's lightning blasts, and indents and severed branches, no doubt made from light weapons. A little ways off he saw the person he was looking for flat on her back looking up at the sky. He walked forward and saw Reina lying there with her eyes closed. If you are going to kill me, then just get it over with, she whispered with her voice sounding croaky and sore, most likely from a lot of shouting during the fighting. Naruto's face softened before he knelt down on his knees beside her. Now why would I do that? He said, making her closed eyes open and look at him in surprise. What are you doing here? She asked. I told you the other day I can tell you are not a bad person at heart. Therefore you should not die in such a manner. I'm just glad my 2 friends kept to their word and did not kill you. I would have been unhappy if they did. Before she could speak again, Naruto picked her up and carried her bridal style, being careful of her injuries. Reina blushed from the contact and found herself rather comfortable in his arms. Why are you doing this? Why do you care so much? She felt Naruto shrug as he began walking. I'm a firm believer in second chances, and though I know not all people deserve one, you I do think deserve one. You were forced into something I don't think you really wanted to take part in, and were made to do things that you disagreed with. You have been led down a dark path, and I want to help you out of it and help you find your redemption. And if you want to gain that redemption and do things the right way, then you will have a friend in me, he said, smiling down at her. Reina lay in his arms as she listened to him, not realizing little tears were making their way down her face. She saw his face and saw he was being genuine about his words and that his eyes were not lying, a skill she had picked up on. Sensing that she was safe with him, she closed her eyes as Naruto's wings shot out from his back and lifted him into the air, soaring back to his home in the night sky. Naruto hummed to himself as stood in his kitchen as he readily made breakfast for himself and his new tenant. Since he had offered Reina a chance to start over, she had for the last few days mainly stuck to staying in bed, healing from her injuries she sustained from fighting Rias and Akino. The worst injuries she got were some burns on her upper arms from Akino's lightning. The rest was just from being physically exhausted and needed a few days to just rest and recuperate. He was a little thankful that Akino and Rias had not come over with the others, since he did not want them all to start threatening Reina. Though Rias and Akino knew she was still alive, they did not know that Naruto had taken her in and offered her to start over. Since the battle at the church the other day, Rias had been working Issei to the bone, getting him up in early hours to go for morning exercises since they needed to get him in better battle shape. Though he had proved himself by battling and defeating the fallen angel, he was still nowhere near strong enough to take on stronger opponents. Also, he had met their newest bishop, Asia. Though through their first meeting Asia was a little timid around him since he was quite an imposing figure, but he just acted friendly around her, introduced himself to her, and eventually Asia felt comfortable around him and pleasantly called him Naruto-san. She was very timid and quiet from what he had seen and had a soft spot for Issei, no doubt having a crush on the perverted pawn of Rias. Also, with her living arrangement, Asia was now living at the Hyde residence with Issei and his parents. Apparently his parents took a liking to Asia and welcomed her warmly, much to her relief and happiness. Though it had not really been up for debate since Rias had told Issei Asia was moving in with him, and that was that. As he thought this over, he heard shuffling coming from down the stairs. He looked over towards the door to the kitchen and saw it swing open with a slightly sleepy Reina walking through it. Her sleepwear consisted of a light purple tank top with short shorts. On her feet she had a pair of fuzzy pink slippers. On her right upper arm, though, she had some bandages covering her from the burn marks, as well as a bandage patch on her abdomen which barely showed through her top. Good morning, he said to her as she walking in and took a seat on one of the stools around the kitchen counter. Good morning, she said timidly. She still felt a little nervous around Naruto for the simple fact that she could not believe he would so willingly take her in like he had done. The last few days for her had been peaceful, something she was not all that used to. Since her arrival a few nights ago he had looked after her, patched her up, made her breakfast, lunch and dinner, and even helped her undress since she could not move her right arm much. Where most would have ogled her body when helping her change, Naruto politely closed his eyes and looked away. He had given her a roof over her head, a warm bed, warm food and friendship. That was more than what many of the other fallen angels had ever given her. Here, I hope you like them, he said as put a few waffles in front of her with a glass of orange juice beside it with a glass of syrup and honey on the side. You don't have to keep doing this for me, she said as she went to take a bite, but Naruto just shrugged. I know, but I wanted to. Plus it's been nice having someone else in the house other than myself. My mom is rarely here, and the only company I get here is Rias and Aquino when they either stay for the night or eat my cooking, he said in humor, though noticed the panicked look on her face. Don't worry. Even if they should turn up, I will make sure they know you mean no harm. I won't let anyone hurt you, he said as he patted her hand before he gathered his breakfast onto his plate and began eating next to her. As he ate, Rainier didn't say anything but just looked at him. She had never had someone act so friendly towards her before, not like this anyway. She did not understand why he did not owe her anything. He was not in debt to her, yet he was helping her. Naruto happily munched on his waffle and went to take a sip of his orange juice before he felt a pair of arms wrap around him. He turned his head to see Rainier hugging him and paced her head in the crook of his neck as light sobs came out from her. Reassuring her, he hugged her back and soothed her by rubbing her back. They stayed like that for a few minutes before Rainier broke the hug and wiped away the tears she had before giving Naruto the first proper happy smile he had seen from her since he had brought her to his home. So what do I do now? She asked as she dug back into her food. What do you mean? He asked as he stuck a larger piece of waffle in his mouth, making her laugh a little at his face. I mean, how long am I allowed to stay here? I assume you want me to leave at some point, she asked, but was surprised to see him shake his head. No, you don't have to leave. If you haven't noticed, the house is pretty big and has 6 spare rooms. It would be nice to have the company around here, so you can take one of the rooms and make it permanently yours, so I can do what I want with it. Yes. Paint it any color you want, put whatever comforts you want in there. It's your room, so do what you wish to it, he said, getting another smile from her. And is there anything that you want in return? She asked, hinting at a teasing tone in her voice. Naruto stroked his chin in thought. Actually, there is one thing I would like you to tell me, he asked as she looked at him questioningly. Tell me everything you know about the fallen angels. I know enough about the devils from Rias and her peerage, but I do not have a wide knowledge on fallen angels. So I was hoping you could help me understand them better. Rainier looked at him rather curiously but shrugged, showing she was happy to do that for him. So she began an explanation of the fallen angels to him. Fallen angels are angels that have fallen from the grace of God, due to having impure thoughts that divert them from the teachings of the God in the Bible. The leaders of Grigori were tempted by human women and had fallen after having sex with them. Despite being cast out of heaven, fallen angels and their subordinates are known to occupy churches and use them as bases. However, we normally go out of our way to destroy all of the religious icons in these churches in the process, since they harbor a bad reminder of what we once were. However, like angels, we can still use light energy and use positive energy to harm our enemies, the devils. Currently, the fallen angels have the smallest population among the 3 factions, as is currently being led by Azazel, the governor of the fallen angels and currently the strongest of the fallen angels race. He is also the leader of the Grigori. Seeing Naruto's confused face, she elaborated. It's an organization created by Azazel and the fallen angels who fell with him. The members of Grigori include exiled church members and sacred gear wielders, so they are the head honchos basically, he said as she nodded. And does that mean that Exorcist Fried was part of the Grigori? That's right, though he was never one for the rules. He usually just went off on his own and did what he pleased. And what about your wings? I have heard some of the fallen angels have more than 2 wings on their backs. Why is that? Naruto asked. The rank of strength on a fallen angel is determined by his or her wings. Azazel has 6 sets of wings on his back, which shows he is the strongest and only one with that many wings on his back. Also, the color of the wings get darker the stronger the fallen angel becomes. Rainier made her wings appear on her back. Since I only have 1 set of wings on my back, I'm usually seen as just a grunt, a soldier like many others. Have you tried to increase your strength to gather more sets of wings? I have, but with all the moving around fallen angels do along with the plotting and the whole business with the sacred gear stealing, I have had no chance to. Naruto nodded. Rainier, though currently at a normal soldier strength, could become a powerful friend and ally if she got stronger. He knew that one could never have too many friends to have your back. Then do you want me to help train you? He asked, getting a surprised look from her. I was trained by a former Dragon King and current ultimate class devil, and I like to think I am near equal terms to him. I can help you get stronger if you like. You would really help me get stronger? She asked. Sure. There is a forest just 5 minutes south from here that no one ever goes to. We can go there during the evenings and we can spar with one another. I usually train myself during the evenings when I can, so you are welcome to join. Rainier nodded, happy that she has the chance to get stronger and prove she was not just some grunt. As she was about to speak, she and Naruto heard the back door open. Naruto-kun, we are here for our Sunday morning breakfast. Rias and Aquino's voice called out, making Naruto sigh and Rainier to widen her eyes and go a little pale. Don't worry, he said, reassuring Rainier as the 2 sat down as the clicking of heels began getting closer to them. The kitchen door swung open, revealing the 2 girls who were wearing Sunday dresses, Rias in light yellow and Aquino is a light purple. Morning, Naruto-kun, they both said before they scanned to his side and noticed Rainier sitting there. Both their eyes widened and they jumped back a little before getting in their stances and had their powers spark around them. Rainier panicked and got up from her seat, but Naruto stood in front of her and put his arm out to cover her, getting surprised looks from Rias and Akino. Naruto, what is she doing here? Rias asked, glaring towards Rainier as Akino narrowed her eyes at her when she saw her grip onto Naruto's arm and hide herself behind him. Well, she is having breakfast with me, as you can see, just like the two of you are here for, he said. She is a friend and I will not allow either of you to harm her. But Naruto Kunihiro. Akino started, but Naruto gave them both a small glare. She is under my protection, Akino-chan. She did not want any part of the battle the other night but was forced into it. She is willing to try and make things right, and I believe she is worth having a second chance. So will you two act nicely, or will things between us go a little south? He asked, staring at them, making them both bite their lips before they both reluctantly nodded. Fine, we shall behave. Rias answered as Akino nodded. Thank you. However, unfortunately you will be eating alone today since myself and Ray-chan will be out for most of it, he said, making the three girls blink. What? But where are you going? Akino asked, pouting at Naruto not going to be here with them for breakfast like he normally did. Well, since Ray-chan is moving in with me, we need to spruce up her room a bit. So we will be heading to town to get her some creature comforts and stuff, he said as he ushered Rainier to follow after him. As the two walked past the devils, both girls had one thought on their mind. Moving in? She is moving in with him? But we knew him first. They both thought as jealously built up in their stomachs. They both noticed the others doing the same as they were doing, and little bolt of lightning formed between them, trying battle for dominance. Later that day, Naruto carried a large box on his shoulders with multiple bags in his right hand filled with feminine clothes, while beside him Rainier walked happily with a skip in her step, wearing a dark blue sundress with a few more bags in her hands. Throughout the day, Naruto had bought Rainier everything she needed, which included clothes since hers were destroyed in the battle at the old church, bedding and pillow sheets along with curtains. They had gone to a furniture store and bought her a couch to put in her room for her to sit on while reading and things of that nature, along with a 40-inch television. Thanks to a credit card that basically had no limit and made a very tiny dent, he told her to get what she wanted so they could add it to her room and make her life at his manor house more comfortable. Rainier could not thank him enough for what he had done for her, and thanked him by giving him a big kiss on the cheek. It made Naruto blush at the contact of her lips to his cheek, but weirdly it made him feel all warm and fuzzy along with tingles going up his spine. However, when she did that, he noticed that two people a little distance behind them that were hiding behind some bushes suddenly had their tempers spike and were muttering curse words under their breath. It did not take a genius to figure out that Rias and Akino had been following them. For reasons Naruto was not sure, he guessed they just did not trust Rainier yet, and wanted to make sure no harm came to him. When it came to girls, Naruto was just as confused as any other male. So do we have anything else we need to get, or do we have everything we need now? He asked Rainier as she had a small list in her hand of the things she needed to get. There is just one more thing I need to get, she said as she led the way with Naruto following after her. It only took a few minutes before they arrived at another clothing store. Though Naruto could not help but blush when he noticed what kind of store it was. Ray-chan, this is a lingerie store. She turned to Naruto and smiled happily at him. I know it is silly. I need to get some lingerie and underwear, and I need someone to tell me whether or not they are a good fit. Though it would be better to have a girl here, you will have to do, she said, smiling a little shyly at him as she grabbed his hand with all the bags and led him inside. As she did, he could have sworn he heard two females' voice cry out bitch in the background, with Rias and Akino. The hell does she think she is doing taking Naruto-kun in there? I should be the one making him look at kinky underwear and trying them on for him, not her, Akino said, gritting her teeth. The two glared at each other before they got up and rushed into the store with Naruto. So how does this make me look, Naruto? Rainier asked as she came out of the changing rooms wearing very sexy black lingerie that left little to the imagination. It cupped her breasts almost too perfectly, and defiantly made them seem even bigger than they were previously. Naruto just did not know what to say. Weeks after having Rias and Akino all but throw themselves at him, with Akino appearing in his shower to Rias waking up nude in his bed, he still was not used to seeing the female body in such a revealed form. Why, you look very nice, Ray-chan. It defiantly brings out your long hair, he said, not knowing what to say. Oh well, thank you, I think. So you don't think it makes my boobs look too big or too small or anything? She said, leaning down, and showed him an awful lot of cleavage. She internally laughed as she watched Naruto try his best to keep his eyes on hers instead of trailing down. I'm not a pervert, I am not a pervert. He kept thinking, not wanting to stoop down to Issei's level. What about my butt? Does it look comfortable, or do they make it look too tight? She asked, turning around and showing him her perfect rear. This is not fair on so many levels. How am I supposed to control myself when she is doing all this sexy stuff in front of me? He thought now, believing that he really should not have taken her shopping if she was going to get him so flustered and so worked up. Rainier then was about to turn around and head back into the changing rooms before her feet tripped over themselves and she landed on Naruto's lap. As she did, Rias and Akino appeared out of the other two changing rooms and saw her in Naruto's lap. They immediately began to think she was hitting on him and trying to make a move. Stop trying to seduce Naruto-kun, Rias told her as Akino glared at Rainier and had a dark aura around her. Though this time instead of cowering behind Naruto, Reiner pouted at them and gave them a glare to match. It was an accident. I tripped over my feet, she said as she stood back up and went back into her changing room. Naruto though looked like he was in La La Land as he stared at the other two lingerie-clad girls as his face went as red as one's face could get. Akino was wearing very small navy panties that made her ass shake like and her bra pushed her already large assets to look even larger than they were before. Rias meanwhile was wearing a one-piece lingerie outfit but the middle section was just gone and was revealing a large majority of her breasts, as well as showing off her athletic physique. The two girls saw him looking and trying to shake himself out of it, but they both had flirty and devious smiles appear on their faces as they both leaned down. When they did, their bras looked ready to burst. My, look how red your face is getting, Naruto-kun. One would think that you might be enjoying the view, Rias said as she put her index finger underneath his chin. Would you like me to purchase this, Naruto-kun? Perhaps I could model it more for you at your home, Akino added, whispering into his ear, hotly making him shiver at the touch. As the two girls looked at him, Naruto had never felt so singled out before. They were acting so flirty and so sexily that it was making his brain overload. He might be a powerful dragon, but he was also a teenage boy, and teenage boys had one main thing on their mind. Girls, I need to get out of here. He thought before he saw Reiner come out of the changing rooms. Come on Rei-chan, we best get this stuff back, he said, quickly turning around, grabbing Reiner's hand and picking up the stuff he was carrying from earlier before racing out the door. The two remaining girls watched him leave before they both turned to one another, and lightning connected from each of them and sparked in the middle. Outside, he took deep breaths as he reached outside, and he and Reiner began making their way back home. Despite him playing off as a bit dense when it came to girls, he could see that the girls, Rias and Akino especially, had increased the amount they flirted with him and tried to get his attention. Whether it was from turning up in the mornings to spend breakfast with him, going shopping together, sparring together, doing homework together, etc. He could see what it was leading to. What he wondered in his mind though was if he was ready for relationships. His mother Ophis had said that because of his strong presence it would naturally attract females to him. Girls wanted alphas, strong men, to be their husband and help give them strong children. That was the main principle, especially in the devil world. Are you okay, Naruto-sama? Reiner asked as she looked at Naruto from beside him. I'm fine, Rei-chan. Just thinking. About Rias and Akino-san? She asked as Naruto looked at her before nodding. You know they seem to have a crush on you, I guess? Yeah, it has been getting increasingly obvious over the last few days. I just don't really know what to do since I have never really felt these kinds of feelings towards girls before, he admitted. So you admit that you have some feeling towards one of them, or even both of them? She said as he nodded again. Yeah, I do. I'll admit that I have had these little buds of feeling growing since I first met them. I mean, it's hard to, since they're both so gorgeous and with brilliant personalities to match, even despite their odd habits and fetishes. Do you think you will ever tell them? She asked as Naruto shrugged. I guess we will have to wait and see, he said before both he and Reiner stopped in their tracks. You feel that? It feels like some of my kind, Reiner said, now feeling a little worried. Did they think her as a traitor, and were they going to try and punish her? Head on back to the house, I can take care of this, he said as she nodded. He handed over some of the bags to her before she took off back towards the manor house. He hid the box away before he disappeared from the ground and appeared on the roofs. When he did, two fallen angels appeared in front of him, focusing on Reiner's leaving figure. Grab her, one of them said, and both went forward to try and grab her before they suddenly felt themselves get stopped and pinned. Both fallen angels found themselves in iron-tight headlocks. Naruto then spun around and threw one of them into a nearby tree while the other got power slammed into the ground. Now you two want to tell me why you are targeting my new friend? Naruto asked as he flared a bit of his power, making both fallen angels sweat a little. She is a traitor. She was supposed to help us get the Twilight healing, and yet she got defeated easily and now is hanging around with devils. She is a traitor to the fallen angels and must be taken care of, one said before Naruto's hand shot forward and grabbed his throat. I was having a nice day, but you two had to come and ruin it, he said as he fully picked the fallen angel up and threw him high into the air. When he did, his fists flickered with fire. Heiken, an enormous amount of fire shot out of his fist and towards the fallen angel, who looked at the pillar of fire in fear and shock. Before he could even scream, he was engulfed and reduced to nothing but cinders. The other fallen angel looked frightened beyond belief at what he just saw and flapped his wings to try and get away, now realizing the mistake they just made. Naruto though turned to where he was flying away and stuck his hand out, facing it towards the disappearing fallen angel. Shadow ball, he whispers as a shadow-like ball builds up on the tip of his index finger and shows of great power despite its relatively small size. The small shadow-like ball then bursts forward with great speed and quickly hits the retreating fallen angel. It went straight into his chest and shadows exploded all over the area, leaving no trace of the fallen angel anywhere. The shadows quickly melted away as if nothing ever happened. That was a pain, Naruto said as he began to hover down and back onto the ground. He quickly collected the box he was carrying and was about to go on his way when he saw another fallen angel looking over at him. He was not doing anything but instead just sort of staring at him. He looked to be in his mid to late 20s with black hair with a few white strands at the front. He had light stubble on his face and on his back. He had 6 sets of black wings. Naruto was about to approach him when he suddenly took off into the air in greater speed than the other two had and quickly disappeared from sight. _6 set of wings. That means he is a very powerful fallen angel. Could that have been that Governor Rainier had told me about? She said he had many sets of wings. He would have to talk to Rainier about whoever that mystery fallen angel was, so he went on his way. Though as he made his way home he found himself at a car dealership, and one car was just screaming out to him. Anyone nearby would have seen the pharaoh-like grin on Naruto's face as he made his way over to the dealership. School the next day was going to be an interesting affair. Ko Academy, where is Naruto-kun? He should have been here already, Akino said, whining a little since she had not spent much time with him over the weekend, and what time she tried to have with him the day before was cut short due to his new house guest. I haven't seen Senpai since the other week. Do we know if he is okay? Kiba asked, concerned for his senpai. Yes, he is fine. He just has a new house guest, that's all, Rias said as she pouted. New house guest? Issei asked while doing his best not to ogle his king's chest. Who's that? They all saw Rias and Akino frown, but before either could answer they heard the roar of an engine coming towards the school. It caught the attention of all the students outside. Smoke on the water, deep purple. As the students turned their heads, they all widened their eyes when they saw Naruto and a girl whose face was covered from the light of the sun drive into the school parking lot in a black 2012 Chevrolet Camaro ZL1 with a dark red stripe going down the middle. It was completely clean and spotless and shined in the morning sun. On the back number plate it spelled drag 0 and 5. Naruto stepped out of the car and every girl blushed when they saw him wearing a pair of aviator glasses, most likely wearing them and not realizing the effect it was having on the female population. Then on the other side of the car, Rainier stepped out and got hearts in the eyes of many of the boys, while many of the girls looked jealous at the fact she got to ride with Naruto in his new badass car. Though when Issei, Kiba, Asia and Kaneko spotted her they all widened their eyes and their jaws dropped a little. Is that Rainier? Issei said, starting to slightly panic as Rias nodded. Kaneko and Kiba were about to move forward, but Akino put her arm out in front of them. She is with Naruto. They are friends and he is giving her a chance to redeem herself, so to speak. Attacking her will make Naruto defend her, she said as Kiba and Kaneko frowned a little but nodded. So does this mean Naruto-senpai is an enemy now? Issei asked, but both older girls shook their heads. No, it just means that we may have to keep a close eye on her. Naruto may trust her, but we don't yet. Not until she proves herself to us that she really means us no harm, Rias said as Asia hid behind Issei, hiding from the fallen angel girl. Naruto meanwhile walked alongside Rainier as the students of Ko Academy parted like the Red Sea, not wanting to get in the way of the Naruto ducked a kick and easily stepped out of the way of a punch before tripping his opponent to the ground, making her stumble in the process. Rainier lay there in some training clothing they had gotten, which consisted of a tight gray tank top and training shorts and trainers. On her back one set of black wings were open and at full length. She looked up at Naruto and pouted at him and put her hands on her hips. I don't think we can really call this training if all I am doing is getting thrown to the ground. Naruto, who was dressed in a dark blue vest and training pants and trainers, shrugged before he put his hand in his pocket and looked down at her with a bored expression on his face. You asked me to help you get stronger and I have agreed to do so. This is how you get strong. Fight an opponent who is much stronger than you and then you learn from it. That way you know what you need to improve on and how to better yourself. And what do I need to improve on? Rainier asked, wanting to see if what he said was true. Naruto sighed and sat on the ground in front of her. First off, in battle you are quick to temper and you have a short fuse. Because of that you will make more mistakes which will eventually cost you. While your attacks are good in accuracy, they lack power in them. You want to hurt people when you use those light attack of yours, not give them a little sting. My mother tells me the strongest of fallen angels can make light spear the size of trucks if they wanted to, while yours are more like a stick. Rainier blushed a little before nodding for him to keep going. Your physical strength needs to be improved, as does your speed, and while your general fitness is pretty good, you don't have much stamina, which is most likely why Akino was able to take you out with a single heavy hit of lightning. Need I go on? Rainier shook her head. I understand, Naruto-sama, she said, which made Naruto groan. I told you to please stop calling me that. I am not your master or anything. I'm your friend. You also saved me from a life I did not like, and you have given me a roof over my head. You have defended me when others wanted to harm me, and you fed and clothed me. For that I will be greatly thankful and forever loyal to you, she said. Knowing she would not stop, Naruto just accepted it, since it was a battle he probably would not win. He knew girls were stubborn that way. I want 200 more push-ups and sit-ups before we head in, he said to Rainier, who nodded in compliance and began with the push-ups. Since Naruto was helping Rainier to get stronger and gain more sets of wings, he set up a training schedule for her that she would do every day. Since they had school from early morning to late afternoon Monday to Friday, they managed to work around it. On morning when they had school, they would wake at 6 and she would do 6 laps around the house before she had to do 200 push-ups, sit-ups and crunches. After school Naruto would spar with her for a while before he would focus on his own training and let Reina practice on her own, though that was only after they had finished their homework. Sometimes they were joined by Rias and her peerage, and when that happened he would notice Rias and Akino would wear very short and tight workout outfits that normally made his nose bleed a little. On the weekends though it was mainly a free-for-all and would work on what she wanted. On her wrists and ankles, Naruto put bracelets with a weight charm on them. Reina was currently on 20 pounds on each limb. As he watched her do her push-ups, he wondered what Rias and her peerage were doing at the moment. It had taken some time for her peerage to accept Reina, and while they still did not trust her, the fact that Naruto was vouching for her did put them at ease. Though Issei and Asia stayed clear of Reina most of the time and were constantly on guard around her, not that either could really blame them. Then he thought about Rias and Akino. Outside of training, the two were constantly trying to spend time with him, and after Reina had pointed it out he knew the two devils had feelings for him, and if he was honest with himself, he had feeling for them too. While the subject of girls in general was quite a mystery to him, he wondered how he would go about asking them to be with him. He knew many devils in the underworld took more than one wife, as did some lesser dragons who would take more than one mate, and so on. If he ever had more than one girl, which at the moment in time did seem quite likely, he would make sure that he was good to them, he treated them equally, loved them both the same if it reached that point, and made sure that they lived a good full life with him. One filled with life, laughter and love. Since he had always only had Ophis as his family, the idea of a big family was what he wanted most in the world and was something he hoped he would eventually have. He knew that right now they would most likely be at the Occult Research Club down at the school, so once the training with Reina was over, he would head down there. Akino was the first to really show any interest in me, and she was in a way the first person I met at Ko Academy. Maybe I should ask her out on a date, and just see how things go from there. I hope Rias-chan does not mind. Before he could continue his thoughts, a light spear darted towards him, though he easily tilted his head to the side and saw Reina looking at him as she tapped her foot. Why did you throw a light spear at me? He asked, raising an eyebrow. I have been calling you for the last few minutes, but you were in your own little world. What has you so thoughtful? Naruto motioned for her to come forward, and so she did and leaned in. I am thinking of maybe asking Akino out on a date tonight, he said as Reina looked at him in surprise. Finally acting on each other's feeling? She asked as Naruto nodded. It's so obvious to everyone that she and the Gremory girl like you. Heck, every time they look at you it's like they want to jump your bones, but the way you tease them or play around with them, it's obvious you have some kind liking to them as well. So if you like them both, will you mate with them both? Naruto shrugged. Let's take it one step at a time, to be honest. Though I am not against having more than one mate on the condition that the girls I am with are all okay with it, and said girls are caring and accepting to one another. Reina chuckled. Oh, I am sure they will be real friendly with one another eventually, she said, making a tinge of red appear on his face before he grumbled and headed inside with Reina following him inside. After a quick shower and putting on some jeans, a blue t-shirt and his sneakers, he left his home and made his way to the Occult Research Club. Occult Research Club. Naruto opened the front door of the Occult Research building and walked inside to hear voices coming from the main room. If his senses were right, then all of the peerage members were inside. Pushing the door forward, he found himself looking at Issei on the floor in a tracksuit, while Asia hovered over him with her hands glowing light green, signaling to Naruto she was healing him. Obviously, Rias' training had been too much for the young devil. Despite Naruto's affiliation with Reina, the young dragon quickly grew a soft spot for the former nun, recognizing Asia as a very gentle and caring soul who really did see the best in people. Though she did not like fighting, she was great at healing thanks to her sacred gear, Twilight Healing. He would not lie that it bothered him that she felt so strongly and attached to the pervert Issei, but he guessed love worked in very odd and mysterious ways. But he would admit Issei did seem quite smitten with her, and for once Naruto could say that maybe Issei did have good intentions towards Asia. Taking his eyes away from them, he looked over at Kiba and Kaneko were seated on the couch like they normally were and gave him a small wave as they drank tea and ate cookies. Hey guys, do you know where Akino-chan is? He asked, seeing the interested looks from the two devils. They both nodded. She is in back with Rias getting changed. We just finished a training session. I don't suppose I could trouble you for a spar, Naruto-senpai? Kiba asked, looking a little eager. Since saving Asia, Rias had upped everyone's training and were dedicated to spending a few hours on the Saturday to pure training and honing their skills along with sparring with one another and getting their teamwork up to par. Sorry Kiba, another time. I have something I need to speak to Akino-chan about, he said before walking past them and towards the door. As he walked, he saw Rias' private room and could hear the girls in the bathroom. He guessed they were showering together. Most men would have melted to the floor at the very thought, but Naruto had grown accustomed to it since the two were best friends and had been for many years. He just hoped that Rias did not get upset that he was asking Akino out first, since he had learned quickly that Rias could be a little prideful at times, and when things did not go her way she got a little stubborn. Walking up to the bathroom door, he gently knocked. When he did, the sound of the two girls talking stopped. Who is it? He heard Rias ask. It's Naruto, he said back, and could have sworn he heard little squeals of delight come from the bathroom. Hello Naruto-kun, I didn't know you would be joining us today. Would you like to join us in the shower? Rias asked in a tone that hoped he said yes. We could use an extra hand in here. He heard Akino say in a very sultry voice that made his nose bleed a little before wiping it away. As nice as that sounds, I actually came to have a word with you, Akino, he said, and he guessed she was surprised because she did not speak for a couple of seconds. Okay, Naruto-kun, just give me a moment, she said as Naruto told her he would wait beside the door. Naruto laid his head against the wall as he waited for Akino to finish in the shower. He could hear her feet tapping against the wet floor and slowly heard the shower turn off. He felt her get closer and closer to the door before the door handle moved and the door swung open. He was about to speak before he sucked in a deep breath and looked at the girl the young woman in front of him. Though he had seen her in just a towel before, she normally always had her hair tied up in some kind of ponytail, or in a bunch. However, now her long dark raven hair was untied and was completely free and swayed from side to side as she moved. His breathing hitched a little when she noticed him and had a happy smile appear on her face. Akino saw the odd look on his face and was mentally cheering before she walked up to him, all the while keeping her towel wrapped around her. Now you said you wanted to speak with me? She said as the sound of her voice shook him out of his thoughts and stood up straight. Yes, I actually wanted to know if you were doing anything later today? If you had any plans of such, he said as Akino had a thinking look appear on her face before answer. No, I don't think I do. I have done pretty much all I was going to do today. Why do you ask? She said, leaning closer towards him, almost pressing her woman's assets against his chest. Naruto gulped and shuffled on the spot a little as he whispered something, though Akino could not quite hear what he said. You will have to speak up, I can't hear what you are saying, she said, leaning in a bit closer and now firmly touching him. Naruto took a deep breath before he said, Would you like to go on a date with me tonight? As soon as he spoke, silence just enveloped the room. He looked down at Akino and saw she was a little wide-eyed as if she was trying to make sense of what he just said and looked gobsmacked. Behind her, Rias had just walked out of the bathroom draped in a light red towel and had heard what Naruto just asked Akino. She just sort of stood there awkwardly as an ugly feeling built up in her stomach.